On your right, and tell them, introduce yourself first of all, and where you're from, and tell them a little something about yourself. It could be what your hobbies are, what your favorite foods are, and I will give you 2 minutes to do that. You could talk about your family. Andrea? Oh, I like Andrea. All right, so that is 2 minutes by my clock. So, who wants to get up from any table, tell us who you are, what your question was, or what you shared with your table mate? Anybody, so that I won't... Oh, there. And you can come to the microphone. Okay, since we don't have any brave people, and I know one name. Oh, all right, because he bent his head. Go ahead. That mic is on? Just a minute, please. Sorry, let's get the microphones on.
Hi, good morning everyone. This is Jumrati from Pleasantville Secondary School, an entrepreneurship teacher. I spoken to Adrian, he is on my right. He's a managing director for a real estate company. Okay, junior I should say, on his way. One day he's going to be, up there. He was telling me he's from the north, central north. He shared some words of wisdom to my students here. So my students are here today to really develop their skills and understand from the experiences of our speakers so that they can benefit in their future dreams. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You didn't tell us what you shared, though.
What did I share?
Yes.
Well, I just said to you, I'm their teacher.
Okay.
I am here to help promote these young girls. One day I will see them up.
That's right. Okay. Could we have another table, please? Oh, just one.
Hi, good evening. My name is
Adrian Blaze, yes. Good. Thank you, Adrian. You weren't the Adrian I was going to call, but I'll make do with that. Okay. So now that we know each other and a little bit about each other, and we will have some more networking sessions during the program. This is the start segment in our series, Start, Grow, Excel. I will introduce our first storyteller with a quote from Oprah Winfrey. Don't worry about being successful but work towards being significant, and the success will naturally follow. I love that one. And you know, you would know that I like quotes by now, right? Kevin Lewis is a born and bred son of San Fernando. He attended Presentation College, San Fernando, before furthering his studies at UWI St. Augustine, and is now a health and safety specialist. After graduating, Kevin saw an opportunity to start a business on the UWI campus, and in September 2010, UWI St. Augustine had its first on-campus barber salon called Black Sheep Barbering Limited. He then moved into events and apparel, starting his own clothing line, an events company called Jim D Collection and Pump Limited, respectively. Kevin's personal brand, Kevo TV, has grown over the past year on social media, where he has become a well-known Instagram comedian and also performs stand-up comedy. He has done 2 full one-hour stand-up comedy specials and has performed at various events across the country. He hosts weddings, sports days, and various other events. His brand of clean comedy has been very well received by young and old alike. Kevin's topic is entitled The Ingredients for Success. Listen to Kevin's story.
I believe that teaching needs to be a situation, it needs to be interactive, so we need the support of the audience. Right? So, right, there we go. All right. So this is a little background of myself. I started these businesses over the past 10 years, and Jim D Collection and Tensol unfortunately failed because, as one of our speakers said earlier, I went too quickly, too fast, and I didn't have the proper tools to get the business off the ground. Right? Jim D was an apparel company about positive teas, selling positive messages. And the other one, Tensol, is total environmental solutions, where we focus on environmental cleanliness and recycling mainly of tires. It was too much money for me to get into, and I didn't have the right people around me, right investment, so it failed in probably 6 months. But the ones at the bottom, Black Sheep, Kevo TV, and Pump, have been functioning quite well and have been doing pretty well over the past 10 years. Black Sheep Barbering, as you would have heard, started at UWI because I saw a need for the on-campus students to access a grooming facility where they don't have to walk on campus. There are a lot of issues with people leaving campus and a lot of robberies and certain criminal activities, and we wanted to ensure that the students were safe and could get their haircuts on campus. Now the Black Sheep is spelled BLAC for a reason, because it stands for Business, Leadership, Awareness, and Charity. Our focus at Black Sheep is not only cutting the hair, but filling the mind. So we would have done a few conferences to ensure that the student leaves the campus as an all-rounded student. I always tell people it's important to understand that you work very hard to get your qualifications, but work twice as hard to make sure your qualifications are the least impressive thing about you. All right? Please ensure that you work hard to get your A's and your distinctions, etc., but make sure that those things are not as impressive as what you have contributed to society. All right? I'll talk about Kevo TV and Pump later on. So, the definition of success. Success is defined as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I took that simple definition and created my own acronym. I love acronyms. And success to me is the strong, unwavering commitment to constantly elevate self and society. It's not only about self, it's not only about making money for you, it's about making sure that you take what you have earned, whether financially or experience-wise, and given back to society. Now, on the topic of self, that's the first part. Before you can affect society, you have to be able to understand yourself. And you have to do what we call a self-assessment. I was privileged enough to have a success coach when I was younger. My parents would send me to lessons in the morning, and in the afternoon, I went to a success coach where we'd read certain books, learn certain affirmations to understand ourselves. And later on, my success coach, when I was probably 19, he gave me this wheel of life. All right? The wheel of life basically breaks down all aspects of your life, your physical environment, business and career, finances, etc. And you grade your life from 0 to 10, or those aspects. And then you connect the dots to see how your wheel looks. And after he told me to do that, he would have said this quote: if the ride through life is rocky, maybe the road isn't the problem. It might be the tires that you're rolling with. You're driving on the highway and you're feeling things a little bumpy, but you know it's a smooth road. You may have to pull to the side and reassess your tires. And something I call retiring is not when you reach 65. Retire means changing your tires ever so often. It means changing your direction, ensuring that you have the tools to get to where you want to go. Some of us continue with the same tires every single day, knowing that eventually these tires may blow out. And we don't want to stop, pull to the side, and assess where we are to ensure we get to where we want to go safely. All right, so if the ride through life is rocky, maybe the road is not the problem. What is your why? Before you start any business, before you start anything, understand that you have to ask yourself that important question, your why factor. And I believe that there needs to be a selfish and a selfless factor. A selfish why factor is, for me, I have two selfish why factors. I like nice stuff, right? When I build my house, I want to have fancy tiles, I want to have a shower head with jets from the side, but I want that, right? That's my selfish factor. And also, I hate traffic. I don't like traffic, and if I have to go through traffic 8 to 5 for the rest of my life, it's going to be a problem for me. So I will do whatever I can to ensure I can go against the traffic. So that's my selfish factor. Now the selfless factor is to ensure that you affect society positively, right? Whether it be personally, in your family, or the wider scope. The selfless factor for me is that I've seen that society doesn't understand the importance of generational wealth. In my family, we don't have generational wealth. I want to create generational wealth. Wealth is not just about money. Wealth is about access and time. Wealth is measured in time. I want to be able to ensure that my children and my children's children have the wealth inherited as opposed to debt. So that's my deep, selfless why factor. So I do what I have to do now to ensure that my children don't have to go through that start over phase. Take control of your mindset. Everything starts in the mind. We have to get rid of what I call stinking thinking. A checkup from the neck up. It is very important we understand how our mindset affects every single thing. I'll give you an example. Anybody went to the market on Sunday? Has anybody ever been to the market? Is there still a market in San Fernando? You went to the market, right? Okay, what's your name? Sorry? Angela. Angela, you went to the market, right? There are two vendors. Now, vendor A has his fruits well laid out. He's watering his fruits, making sure his area is very clean. Then there's vendor B. Vendor B has rotten fruits, right? Some of them nice, some of them rotten. he's not taking care of it, he's not even there. Who are you going to buy from? Vendor A, of course, right? And that is how the mind works. Your positive thinking attracts positive people and positive things. Negative thinking attracts negative thoughts. So you have to understand the importance of nurturing your mind, taking care of your stall so that you attract certain things. Vendor B, more than likely, may have flies, rats, etc. because his environment is conducive for that type of creature or that type of environment for, rats and whatnot to form. So you have to understand the importance of making sure that your mindset is good. Now, people will think you have to be positive all the time. It's impossible to think positive all the time. But you have to have a surplus of positive thoughts. Now, the mind cannot distinguish between negative and positive, and it cannot distinguish between real and imaginary, sorry. It can't distinguish between that. So I'll give you a prime example of why the mind doesn't have the ability to distinguish between real and imaginary, sorry. Now, I need two volunteers, though, all right? Because I know you, Adrian, are going to have to call you. Kellen, I'm going to have to call you. Yes, you can come up too, all right? I'm going to show you how the importance of thinking, positive thinking, could change. Yeah, come up quickly. Thank you. All right, so you all know how to play cards, right? Okay. What game you know how to play? Go to pack? All fours? All right, let's play all fours. All right, let's put it down here. All right, I'll stay in the corner so we could see. Right, I'm going to just deal the cards there. You hold the cards. You hold the cards there. All right, we have the cards, right? You just call out. Let's call out the card you're playing, and we'll go. You go ahead. Call it out. Say it loud. 6 of hearts. All right, you go ahead. 9 of spades. You go ahead. Oh, she's giving signals. Okay. All right. S of hearts. 10 of diamonds. You go ahead. Keep going. Oh, you get to play. Sorry about that. Go ahead. All right. See what I have there. Low. See what I have there. High. Let's see what I have there. What? All right. So you see what she did there? You see what she did? See how she moved her hand away? Right? You have any cards in the hand, though? Not for you. All right. So what she did there was reenact the actual act of her having cards in her hand. Right? To show that, listen, I don't want you to see in my cards. But she has no cards in her hand. So because we reenacted the actual act of having cards, her mind says she had a stack of cards here. And she was actually into the actual, act of playing cards. So the mind can't distinguish between real and imaginary. So when you repeat these things over and over, your mind can't tell if it's real or imaginary. So positive thought can have that effect on you. Thank you very much. Round of applause for them. All right, we're going to go very quickly. The principle of hot coals. We spoke about having a community, understanding the importance of being part of people who can make you better. You put a cold coal in a pot of hot coals, it's going to eventually get hot. So you have to be around the type of people who are going to give you that positive reinforcement. Passion fruit versus passion fruit juice, right? How do you discover your passion? Write a list of things that you love to do. And also, note feedback. People tell me, Kivan, you're a funny guy. I take that feedback and see if whether or not I could be a comedian. And I am a comedian, all right? Be bored. People think boredom is a poor state. Boredom, I think, is a gold mine for ideas. Most people will give you a story of what happened, how you developed this idea, and they will say, I was home, lying down, and it came to me. It's because they're bored. Boredom is a gold mine for ideas. Convert your passion into a proper business. Passion fruit doesn't have the shelf life as passion fruit juice. So you have to create a proper product for it to have a long shelf life in the business fraternity. So understand the importance of taking your passion and making passion fruit juice. All right? You don't have to get passion fruit, whatever your business is. You don't have to go and look for passion fruit all over the place. All right? How do I start a business? I'm not going to get into this, but if you look at a young man, or not a young man, he's been in it for quite a while, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, he has a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad and a series of books that speak about the proper framework for a business. When somebody wants to invest in you, they want to see the business system. They don't want to see the product. They want to ensure that the business system is franchisable, duplicatable, has a process. And this is called the B&I triangle. Ensure that when you're starting a business, you have these elements in your business, right? Team and leadership, mission, product, legal, systems, communication, and cash flow, right? Look up that. You will find it. You'll get information about it. Very, very important. Finite versus infinite. Apple is what I call an infinite brand. They don't say that they are number one. All they say is that they are very good at what they do. If you compare yourself, you will only find joy in being better than. You will find true joy in advancement. You will find true joy in being better than yourself as opposed to being better than somebody else. So ensure that when you build your brand or build a business, you are an infinite brand where you don't compete. You just be better than yourself yesterday. 1 minute. Quick as the word. Remember this as well. Who told you it could not be done? And what great achievements do they have to their credit that allow them to set up limitations for you? Do not let anyone tell you it cannot be done. Believe in that. Seth Godin, another favorite author of mine, spoke about the concept of a purple cow. Building a tribe is very important. And Kivo TV, my Instagram tribe, is a tribe that I hold very dear. I was born in a household where we didn't use vulgarity, we didn't curse. And that tribe has found me. I was able to find people who say, well, listen, I appreciate the fact that you are on Instagram, you don't use vulgarity, you don't curse. So I could send this to my mother, my grandmother, and they'll appreciate it. And when you build a tribe that follows you, you can duplicate that tribe because they will find other people who agree with what you agree or believe in what you believe. So be that purple cow. Be significant. I got this from a kind of derivative from the Outliers book that says you may have to work 10,000 hours before your 1 hour is worth $10,000. All right? You have to work around 10,000 hours before you become a master at what you do. All right. And lastly, how is your cake? If you're making a cake, there are ingredients that you need to have to ensure the cake is palatable, is tasty, etc. If you're making your success cake, your business cake, there are ingredients necessary. And you need to go through heat. Heat is the process. If you don't go into the oven, you will not get what you were looking for. So you have to go through the hardships, the difficulties, the learning curves. All those things are very, very important to make sure you have the final product. And lastly, there's no other Kivan, and nobody could be me. There's no other Angela, there's no other Adrian. Nobody can be you. And that is the power that you have. As much as somebody tries to duplicate you, it cannot happen. So ensure that you become the best version of yourself. And when you find yourself and your purpose, people will pay you to be yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kivan. Our next speaker will engage you on the topic, the importance of intellectual property law to entrepreneurs. Carla Paris is an entertainment and sports lawyer, talk show host, entrepreneur, and content creator. She operates the first boutique law practice in Trinidad and Tobago, whose exclusive focus is in the area of entertainment, intellectual property, and sports law. She advises clients in traditional corporate industries on a variety of copyright and trademark concerns and provides specialist advice to persons in the music, film, animation, events management, fashion, sports, and broadcast industries. In January 2018, she produced and hosted a YouTube talk show entitled The Business of Carnival, which is designed to educate persons on the legal and business aspects of the carnival industry. Over the years, she has published newspaper articles on the importance of intellectual property law to the creative sector and has operated as a consultant for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the OECS Commission, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee. Apart from running her solo practice, she's actively involved in a multitude of public education initiatives. She has been a part-time lecturer in the film department of the University of the West Indies in the area of entertainment law. She has also participated in over 20 intellectual property law and creative sector conferences in Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Carla Paris.
Hi, morning everybody. Wow, that was a really long bio. I didn't realize it was going to be that long. So I will get straight into the presentation. The presentation gets set up. I just want to give you all a little short sense of what I'm going to talk about. It's intellectual property and the relevance to entrepreneurs. Now, intellectual property is a very broad topic and it can be quite complex. So in the 15 minutes that have been allotted to me, I want to just give you all what I consider to be an overview of the areas that are important to you all as you start your businesses or as you start to consider whether you even want to go into business for yourself or stay in a full-time job. Now, the concept of entrepreneurship is definitely one that is being floated around the country a lot. Everywhere that I go, I see conferences like today, entrepreneurship. There are conferences that you see on Instagram, Facebook, seminars, and so forth, telling everybody to develop your own businesses because of the state of the economy today. And what a lot of people tell me when they come to see me in practice is that they want to become an entrepreneur. They want to have their own business because they want to build a brand. They want to be a star like Kim Kardashian. I was shocked the other day. I was actually having lunch somewhere and I overheard a conversation between a parent and a child, and I think that this girl could not be older than 6 years old. And she was there annoyed with her mom because her mother didn't give her enough time to take the picture because she wanted to pose for a selfie. So she was there sort of pursing her lips and whatnot and putting herself into, flipping her hair because she wanted to take a selfie like Kim Kardashian, who was her hero, as she said. And her mother did not properly groom her for the picture. Now, I don't want to go into the merits of Kim Kardashian. That's a whole other story. But I wanted to say to you all that a lot of people think that becoming an entrepreneur means being a brand and you go from 0 to 100. Then, what a lot of people also say to me is that they want to be like people like Winston Duke, who, of course, you all know is a Trinidadian and so forth, and was in the Black Panther. And they say that if people like Winston Duke can do it, so can I. And I think that's amazing, and we need to have heroes that we aspire to who have come from territories like ourselves. But there are other aspects to consider. So you might be saying, okay, what does intellectual property have to do with me? Now, intellectual property refers to, quite simply, creations of the mind. Inventions. Many of you here may be about to embark on your first invention. Literary works, artistic works, symbols, names, and images used in business. And some of the basic areas of copyright relate to, of intellectual property, refer to copyright, trademark, trade secrets, and patents. So I'm going to give you just a very basic definition of copyright. It is a term used to describe the rights that creators have over their literary and artistic works. Works that could be a book, a music, a painting, a sculpture, a film, an advertisement, or a technical drawing. Now, many of you who are going to be creating your businesses are, with knowing or even without knowing, going to be creating copyrightable works. And works that you want to be paid for, and works that you want people to seek your permission for before they use them in their businesses. Trademarks. Now, you would have heard Clifton talking about building a brand. One of the most misunderstood areas in terms of building a brand is that many of you here today might have a business on Facebook. You might be selling cupcakes, you might be selling, like Clifton. He's selling his brand of a comedy. He's a comedian. You might be selling paintings, whatever it is, green organic juices. But when you put the name of that brand in the public domain, the question that many people don't ask themselves is, do I actually own the name of that brand? Because there's a big distinction between registering your company and having a certificate of incorporation, which means that you own your company, and owning your brand, your trademark, is a totally separate matter. That brand has to be registered in the Intellectual Property Office as a trademark. And then there's the question of a trade secret. Many of you might know that the Coca-Cola recipe, for example, is a trade secret. You might have a friend, you might be someone in the room here today who has developed a special recipe, for example, for punch a crumb, for a black cake, or for something that is worthy of trade secret protection. Are you just giving that away in the public domain, or is that something that you can own for a period of time? And the question then becomes, how is all of this relevant to me? Now, why it's relevant to you as you embark on your businesses is to understand that as you start this process of developing your business, finding out what your core products and services are, finding out how you're going to distribute them onto the open market, finding partners to engage in business with you, all of this could amount to nothing if you engage business persons who steal your business ideas, or you engage in a process of, for example, a matter that I see probably once a week, is you do what is called proposal making. We have a matter in this country where you approach a company with an idea that you want to work with them, and the first thing somebody tells you on the phone is send in a proposal. So you sit down for hours, and I'm saying this with a lot of, because this is something that I have gone through myself for years. You put this proposal together, you submit this proposal, only to be told that no one in the company is interested in your proposal. And then months later, you see this concept being developed by somebody who actually was in no way related to the development of your proposal. Typically, it might be someone within the company itself who's developed this idea, or they might have hired a friend or family member of the company. Nepotism. Now, the ways to guard against this type of thing are with the aid of intellectual property law, and more specifically copyright law, non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality agreements, which clearly outline the terms and conditions upon which you are making this proposal to a company. These confidentiality agreements should also exist within the persons or within the groups of persons that you are forming these business ideas with. Because that's another thing that I see all the time. Everybody always says, well, I'm entering into business with a friend. he's a friend, she's a friend, he's a cousin, she's a girlfriend, whoever. It doesn't matter. Because one thing that I have noticed, and I've seen over the past 8 years that I've been in this industry, is that everybody is always a friend until that first dollar is made, right? Now, another thing that is extremely relevant to those of you in the room who are entrepreneurs or who are considering entering into the role of entrepreneurship is to understand that at some point in time in your business, you may require an investor. We have now a lot of various government agencies, Caribbean-wide agencies, who offer what you call startup grants, or grants capital or whatnot. But one of the biggest ways to prevent yourselves from having access to a grant, an investor, business partner, is having absolutely no sense of whether you own your brand in the first place, as I said. Do you own your trademark? Have you entered into confidentiality agreements? Do you have any paperwork? Because one thing that investors consistently say to me when I put forward clients to them for these type of matters are, investors and other stakeholders have a tremendous sense of your commitment and your passion, not just to succeed, but also become a market leader in your area of operation if you can explain to them what intellectual property law assets you own. Because the reality is, a lot of the times your intellectual property asset is actually worth more than the goods and the products that you're actually selling. For example, I go back to the brand Coca-Cola or to the brand McDonald's. In my view, McDonald's doesn't actually taste that great. And people don't actually go to McDonald's for the value of the food. They go because their children would have a tantrum if they didn't stop off at McDonald's on the way home in Cipriani Boulevard. Or they go to KFC because, once again, you have whoever, children in the back seat or somebody who's starving and wants something quick to eat. It's not necessarily about the quality, but it's about the brand association. And that is called an intangible value that your brand owns. These companies that I mentioned, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, even some of our local companies, SM Jaleel, they own their brands and they register them throughout the world to ensure the protection that flows from it. Now, another aspect of intellectual property that's relevant to an entrepreneur is not just protecting you, but ensuring that you protect other people when using their intellectual property to advertise your goods and services. Some of the main areas that entrepreneurs in Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean infringe is through the use of using other people's music in their advertisements. During Carnival time, we have a big, massive, I have an issue with this on Ash Wednesday, because we have the popular songs that are heard on the radio all every time, and then everybody decides at the same time that they want to use that song to embed within their advertisement to drive sales of their products. Because we, as Trinidadians, we love music, we're very emotionally connected to it, but we don't realize and appreciate that you actually have to pay for it. Then there's the question of using photos. Because we're now in a social media world, you need to use a photo to advertise your products and services. But what a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand is that you can't just go online, download the picture of the first pretty girl that you see, and decide that she's going to be an ambassador for your brand. This is very, very common. So apart from having to get permission from the owner of the photographer, you need to understand that you may have to pay for the right to use that photo for a period of time. There are many businesses that I have seen come crashing down. The day before the launch of the event, they're using the music on the radio, they're using still photos and videos in their ad. The owners of all of these various works come forward, and then your event launch has to be cancelled. Right, clearing music. Now, this is a little bit of a technical issue. I'm not going to go into this for the purposes of time, but I'm saying, sort of very briefly, that when you're using your music within your advertisement, some of these are the key points that you have to understand. You might have to enter into a written contract with somebody to determine whether or not you have the right to use that music. Or, if you don't want to use music that you have to clear, you have to go online and find royalty-free music or have an original composition. Or go to a society like COT, Copyright Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, to figure out, can I use this music and for what period of time? Photographs. I'm not sure. I actually had a video in here that is supposed to be playing, but it seems I'm having some technical issues. So I'll just talk it through with you. The whole question of photographs I already discussed, and the importance of making sure that the photograph that you're actually using is one that is public domain. In your business strategy as well, it is extremely important to understand that you need to have a very clear business strategy. A lot of the areas that I see local entrepreneurs sort of struggling with is understanding the direction of the business. Is this business one that you're targeting for the local consumer? Is it a regional market, or is it an international market? And if it is one, two, or three of the others, then there needs to be an intellectual property strategy, which you sit down with your business team, who is typically supposed to compose of a lawyer, an accountant, and all of these various things as you grow, to ensure that as you develop these business ideas, you're not landing into severe difficulty. You have to plan for unexpected outcomes. This is a clip that I was going to show you all from the series that was mentioned earlier, The Business of Carnival. This is Jules Sobian, and in this clip, he's talking to me about the fact that he had a carnival event sometime, I think it was 2 years ago. And at that event, he had a situation where there was a lady who was walking through the event, and she fell on the floor, slipped, and hurt her back. And immediately after the event, the lady approached Jules and his committee members to say that she was going to sue them as a result of the floor and the whatnot, in her view, not having been properly installed. And the discussion that we were having there was about event insurance and whether companies and event promoters and so forth, do they plan for unexpected outcomes? And this is a matter that I think affects and applies to many entrepreneurs that I see in my practice, not planning for unexpected eventualities. One of the most common matters that I see local entrepreneurs not planning for in relation to intellectual property infringement is brand infringement. And it's a question of, as I was referring earlier, to persons seeing your Facebook page with a particular name, seeing your Instagram account doing very well, having a lot of shares, having a lot of followers, and all of a sudden seeing somebody upload a page with the same or similar name of your brand, product, and or services, and you then very alarmed and confused because people are now writing to you saying, who exactly does this page belong to? And at that point in time, you're now furiously running, trying to decide whether you should register the name of that brand in your company's name as a trademark because you never did that before. The question of looking and collaborating with overseas persons who are doing very well is also a possibility. I had the picture there of Rihanna to demonstrate that now we have a lot of Caribbean people who are doing major things globally. And looking at similar brands to see how you can pattern yourself is also an important area to determine. And lastly, this picture is extremely important to me for the reason that you'll see on your left a youngish looking guy, and then on your right, you see an older guy. And I think as entrepreneurs and so forth, as you enter this new market, you need to understand, and everybody needs to understand, that the world has actually turned on its head. And we're no longer in a situation where you can expect that as you build your businesses, you're going to be working with or working for persons who are older than you, persons who are more qualified than you on paper and so forth. In fact, one of the most recent studies that I saw in an article called Entrepreneur Today, it said that in 2018, some of the most wealthy entrepreneurs in the United States, or the entrepreneurs to note, were all under the age of 25. And that is what I want to leave you with, that as you start and as you grow your business, apart from understanding intellectual property in some of the key areas, trademarks, copyright, and so on, confidentiality, non-disclosure agreements, that you also open your minds up to the fact that collaborating with persons younger than yourselves may actually be the key to developing a marketable business. Thank you.
Much, Carla. That was so informative. I'm sure all the participants benefited significantly from things that we have never even thought of. Thank you very much. And before I move forward, I would like to recognize the presence of Ms. Joan Yule-Williams, our former Minister of Community Development, Culture and Gender Affairs, who has been here from the start, so that's my bad. Okay. Before we begin our first panel discussion, I would like to introduce the members of our panel, and I would ask by designation that you join Carla and Kevin on set. So, we have Ms. Catherine Bethel, CEO of Bee's Homemade Ice Cream Limited. Please watch your step with the cables. Bowles, founder, Shamir De Spa, and managing director of the Herbarium Limited. Ms. Candice Guppy-Sobian, creative director, Candy Coated Events and Travels. Okay, she'll join us momentarily. And we have another panelist who I'm told is outside. We understand that parking has been a challenge throughout the morning, resulting from the council meeting being on the same day as this event. So our apologies to those. So as they come in, they will join our other panelists on stage. Our panel discussion, our first panel discussion, will consist of questions from participants. You may focus on the start segment only, and as we move along, if you do not get a chance to ask your question, you can ask questions on any segment throughout the program. Candice, please join us. Okay, so you have heard Kevin and you have heard Carla. So any questions around those topics, you could come to the microphones located center of the room and ask your questions. And panelists, feel free, not only Kevin and Carla, but you can join in at any time. Please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. Nadia Garfield-Sommer. I have a question to Ms. Carla Paris, please. Okay. So, if somebody approaches a business and say, well, I'd like to rent your business, to part of your business, to open a business of mine, right? Let's say, for instance, a food place or something that is already an existing business. It's like a subtenant business. And you develop your customers, your clients, and everything. And this person says, wow, this business is really good. And I say, well, you know what? We're not going to extend this rent for you. And positively, but then develop the same business, continue on with it. How could we protect ourselves from something like that?
Oh, okay. Let me just try and process the question a little bit, right, to make sure I'm understanding. You're saying, so you're talking about brick and mortar. So you have a physical business that's been developed.
Yeah.
X person has developed the business, and you're saying that somebody else is coming in and developing a same or similar business with the same, is it what, selling the same similar products and services?
So it's like a tenancy. So this business is already existing and it will be put up here. So I go to this business and say, hey, listen, I want to sell some food or some other business I want to do here. Could I use this space and arrangement is made?
Right.
So you go on, you invest in money, start up the business, to have a client, to build up the client. And then the people who own the building or who already have the business is like, wow, this is doing good. So it's like, we're not going to extend the rent.
Oh.
Extend the lease.
Yeah.
So when you leave now, they just start doing the food or start doing that business as well.
All right.
So, no, they didn't have an idea, they didn't do it at all.
Yeah.
Right? Even though it's something common that everybody does sell food.
Okay.
So tell me how somebody can protect their means.
Okay, the short answer is you can't. This is a free market economy, right? So that's a good question, and in the sense that this is where a lot of people get confused about what intellectual property law protects, right? Intellectual property law does not protect your idea, right? Ideas are there, they're freely available. In fact, nothing really is that original, right? What is protected is the tangible, I'm going to try to explain this as simply as possible. So the tangible expression of that idea, meaning, and that's why I try to break it down into some of the most sort of commonly used areas of intellectual property law. Where you may have had a case is if the person, let's say you had a name of that business, and that's why I try to explain the difference between your business name and then your trademark, right? So let us say you had registered your brand as a trademark in the intellectual property office, and you called it whatever, I don't know, you know, Kivos. I'm just, you know, using you as a reference there, right? And this person now came and used that exact name which you registered. You have a case in terms of dilution of your brand, passing off of your brand, having the consumers confused into who they should be now purchasing from because you have built up goodwill in your business. But the fact that somebody is going to be developing or has developed a same or similar business concept is not protectable, because then we would consistently be prevented from finding ways of living and eating and thriving. I mean, the whole point of existing is that, yes, you get inspiration from others and whatnot, but you're not supposed to ride off of somebody else's goodwill. And that's why I'm saying the importance, and this happens a lot in terms of trademarks. In fact, it's very, very prevalent. People just look and see what somebody else is naming their thing, and they name it similarly so that they can drive business to their page. And I'm saying page because we're in a social media world, right? And that's where you would have a case, but not that somebody is now selling, let's say it's toiletries or a barbecue chicken business. Well, that's just too bad. That's just how business operates. So you need to develop deeper relationships. You know, that's the nature of society.
also, my husband and I manage an online shopping site as well. So my question, I actually have two questions. I'll go with the first one for both Paula and
Kivan.
I know you obviously from your Instagram. I've been following you for a long time, and obviously my husband is very good friends with you. They both went to friends. Okay, so my question is, how do you, or what's the best way to create a kind of authoritative leadership presence in your business? It's something I struggle with a lot as a woman, as a young person, and as a relatively inexperienced person, despite but still being a subject matter expert, maybe in the field that I'm in, or a leader in the business or industry that I'm in. I have a problem. I struggle with persons taking me seriously, or persons even being willing to pay for my services, or being able to want my advice or want my collaboration, but taking me seriously enough to understand that this is the way I make a living. And this is not just me personally, but the businesses that I manage.
Okay. Steve Jobs said, if you want to be liked as a leader, sell ice cream. And at the end of the day, leadership is not about being liked. It's really about making sure that at some point you become unnecessary. So that being said, unnecessary means that your systems and the way in which you operate your business does not fall to the wayside when you are no longer there. So first of all, you have to find what your leadership style is. Everybody has a different leadership style. And maintain respect as opposed to being liked. Right? At the end of the day, the focus is ensuring that the business progresses. And when you have a certain, how to put it, if you have certain core values with regard to how you operate your business, do not let other people compromise those values. So when you stick to those values, you are respected, and you ensure that your business continues as opposed to relationship continues. Because sometimes your relationship has to fall by the wayside just to ensure that your business continues. So leadership is about making sure that you, one, are unnecessary and you are respected at the end of the day. Make sure that when you have people under you who are working with you, that they also feel as though that they are becoming leaders. Right? Leadership is about making sure that you create more leaders, not just followers. All right?
I just want to make sure I understand the question, right? And when you say in terms of developing a strong leadership voice, because that's the one thing that's stuck out. Are you talking about within your business, or are you talking about publicly? Okay, because that's the distinction I wanted to make. Yeah.
You know, coming from for the last 5 years, I'm coming into my family business, struggling to, you know, coming in as a leadership position, in a leadership role, in a management position.
Right.
And even internally getting people to take me seriously or understand that I'm very serious about what I do and follow suit.
Okay, so in terms of how to generate, I think, respect as a leader in a new business, I think it has a lot to do with the way that you demonstrate competency. Because you said something there that I think is it could be one of the triggers, I think, for disrespect within a business, is that if your company has a lot of persons who are not part of the family, that tends to cause friction just from the outset. They think that you got there not because of qualifications, but because obviously you're related to whoever. So I think demonstrating a sound understanding of the subject matter area is very, very important in that type of dynamic. And I'm a big proponent of consistently reading. I think a lot of times here, I think in Trinidad and the Caribbean, we think, okay, we have a degree and that's it. But you have to be consistently updating your skills, updating your knowledge. We are in a dynamic world where I certainly believe, that you have to understand how to migrate your business to different platforms. As I said, digital technology and so forth. So I think coming in from those two standpoints, one, kind of having empathy and understanding where the other employees may see you in that regard as not having worked for this position, so understanding that, and having feedback sessions with persons, understanding where they're at is important. And then in terms of developing your core competencies and bringing something new to the table. So consistently reading, developing new skills, and showing to the business that you understand how it can grow through investing in online courses and helping other people in the company to also grow. Because I think that's a problem that we have here, where we don't treat our employees in such a way that they think they can also grow in the company. And it's not, they don't feel as though they're being invested in. So if you also say, well, look, there are courses that they could take part in, I'm going to send you on training, I'm going to invest in your own learning and development, that helps everybody to feel as though they're part of something. And not just kind of resting on your knowledge, because that's yesterday. Everybody's learning and everybody has to grow and demonstrate that you're no different from they are, and you also have to learn. And I think for me, one of the reasons that I am no longer an employee, I think the last time I was an employee may have been a decade ago, is kind of for that reason, that I've never felt in any company that there was any investment in knowledge beyond what I was there to do. And if you have somebody in a company who thinks outside of the box and thinks differently, then don't look at them as a competition. Try to develop their core skills as well and see how they can help that company also to perhaps take it to the next level. And that's what I think is my thoughts off the top of my head.
Thank you. If I could just quickly ask another question related to intellectual property.
Oh.
So in terms of intellectual property and infringement, or tracks on your intellectual property as a business owner. So here we're in the hat now with the family business. We've had many instances where we ask you develop a proposal, so there's a kind of package, we do all the design, drawings, everything, submit it as our business information, right? And we've had a lot of instances where we've not gotten awarded the contract, we've not gotten awarded the job, but seen our drawing being used wholesale by somebody else who obviously got awarded.
Yeah.
But my question really is, a lot of these times, so my dad is my boss, right? A lot of these times I'm very old school and very then burns in the past a lot, and so it's very kind of cynical in some situations and so it takes me a lot of convincing to say, well, let's go through the channels, let's follow this through, let's take action on this, right? See these things. But it's always...
What legal action can be taken, and who do you take your concerns to? And are you less valid in these concerns if you don't have that disclaimer of confidentiality or, even in your emails?
Okay, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me try to answer them as simply as possible. I'll start from the last one. I understand what you're saying. Is your case less strong? Yes, it could possibly be less strong. Now, one of the things that I advise persons to do is keeping a paper trail of the development of your documentation. So, what they call, it's called poor man's copyright. Essentially, what it means, as you develop a proposal, you're never going to have a proposal that is completely fleshed out from the inception. You're going to have various drafts that get you from point A to B. So having that chronological development of that let's say call it end proposal is important. So you keep your various drafts, right? And of course, I keep stressing in today's age, I see a lot of people still, they don't save their documents and your laptop dies or something or it gets damaged. You have to save everything to the cloud or to an external drive, right? That's sort of, you know, 101 now. But I'm saying sign and date your various drafts and have physical copies of that. In terms of making sure that there's clarity in terms of the ownership of the documentation, I was saying that a non-disclosure agreement, and what I was referring to there is not in reference to tenders or so forth. I was talking about a simpler process where you are pitching a business idea to a company and they've asked you to submit a proposal. My general preference is to first go into that company, have initial discussions with whoever you may be meeting with, the brand manager or whatnot, to establish that sort of rapport first, meet with the relevant parties, and then you submit. So there's even more sort of a, you know, chronological trail of the development of this. Then you can submit this proposal, but that proposal needs to have copyright notices and so forth at the bottom of it. There needs to be clarity even within the document that it's being submitted for these specific purposes. Intellectual property and whatever it is belongs to the name of the company and so on, so that that documentation clearly dictates, you know, where these concepts have come from. Now, having said that, I want to impress upon everybody here that I'm not saying that your idea is protectable, but what I'm saying is the way that you may be developing that idea, all of the various formats and so forth within that proposal. So I mean, it's hard to go into, because it's so broad, but let's say it's an event. You know, you're proposing the development of an event for a company. You would have a certain methodology for how that event layout should look. That may be protectable, but not the fact that you're actually going to be developing an event around a theme of fairies or Cinderella or something. But the methodology is what may be protectable and so forth. So those are the things that I'm saying may or may not be protectable. In terms of who do you take your case to, your case would be you would initiate action against the party who you revealed this document to, or who you would have had discussions with, and that's where an intellectual property attorney comes in if they determine that you actually do have an arguable case. So it would be a matter between your company and the infringing party. And that's where the matter would be. I mean, I'm assuming you're also talking about government matters. Yes, I have seen instances where persons have initiated action against government agencies for copyright infringements, all levels of IP infringement. Whether that goes anywhere is a different matter. But
I think that's really what I'm trying to get.
Well, it depends on how far you
is worth it.
That's what I was going to say. That's now a matter, that's a business matter, determining the value of the case to you, because you have to pay for legal fees. Is the value of going forward and the potential length of time that you may be in court for, 3, 5, however many years, worth this to you when you look at, can I develop this business matter somewhere else? That's a lot of the times why these matters don't go forward. Because it's a value proposition, but not that you don't have a case.
Okay, thank you. You have a question?
Hi, good morning. My name is Cami Along, and I'm the Managing Director for House of Janai Limited, which is an umbrella company for a number of different companies. So my question is mainly for Carla. If it is you have registered for ownership of the intellectual property of an umbrella company, are all of your recipes, products produced, protected under that, or?
No, absolutely not. Those are all different types of intellectual property protection. So your recipe may be a trade secret, right? The name of your company, your brand of your company, as I said, is a trademark. Then the various documentations within. So let's say you're developing pamphlets, or you're developing books, online material, that's copyright. And the copyright is not protectable in the sense of you're going to the intellectual property office and actually getting a registered document. That is protectable by contract,
Right.
So you have to enter into contracts with your employees, with your service providers that clarify who owns these, you know, these various works.
So it's a case-by-case basis?
That's absolutely, and that's why a startup company or medium, large company, you have to do an intellectual property inventory, and that's what's not done. What are our IP assets within this company? What do we own so far? What have we protected? And what do we need to protect through the various aspects of IP? There's no one form of IP that protects everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for that segment, we'll stop there. But feel free to ask questions of Kevin and Carla as we go along to the other panel discussions. We have just joined us, and I will ask him to join the other panelists on set. Mr. Elson James, CEO, Consumer Finance, JMMB Express Finance. To the Grow segment in our series. And our speaker is Catherine Bethel. Catherine lives her life as a testimony to the saying, what you believe, you can achieve. She and her husband Andy started Bee's Homemade Ice Cream some 30 years ago as a way to make ends meet for their young family. Today, Bee's is found in freezers alongside powerful international and local ice cream brands at leading supermarkets nationwide, with retail distribution in the Sister Isle Tobago, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. Catherine holds an MBA from Henley College of Business Management, UK, an ACCA postgraduate diploma in financial management, and a draftsmanship diploma from John Donaldson Technical Institute. In addition to her duties as managing director, Catherine also served on several boards, such as Eastern Credit Union, Trinidad and Tobago Agribusiness Association, and was president of the Small Agro Processors Association for several years. Becoming a business coach and mentor was a natural next step for Catherine, and she has coached and mentored scores of young entrepreneurs on developing successful business models. Catherine is a certified action coach and recently became a certified trainer, speaker and coach, with the John Maxwell Leadership Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Catherine Bethel.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so happy to share my story with you. And as I title the story today, and in this season, it's a story of grit. And those who know what grit means, it's a story, it means that it's a particular strength to have the faith and belief in yourself to do what you have to do to persevere the odds against you. So allow me to share a few slides that will, that I hope to inspire and encourage each and every one of us to pursue our God-given destiny. So you would have gotten some descriptions as to who I am. Yes, I'm standing here representing my husband, the family, my daughter, my son, and the family of Bee's Ice Cream. And all of the accreditation is fine, but who is Catherine Bethel? Grew up in San Juan, Barataria, went to a simple school like Barataria Junior Secondary, came out of Barataria Junior Secondary with just 3 O-levels, and by God's grace is standing here with a master's on top of a business that has been running for 30 years. Very humble and faithful. I love my one-on-one time. I love shopping and buying shoes. So somewhere in 1986, what was the climate of Trinidad and Tobago? What did Trinidad and Tobago look like? TTT, not the TTT, but TTT looked like that. Channel 2, right? 2013. There wasn't so much SUVs. Look at the Mazda that time that was driving the road. I can remember my first vehicle being a PU3234. Petrotrin today was Texaco. And we used to listen to Sparrow off of CDs and 8-track and stuff. Yeah, so that was how Trinidad was. It was totally different, you know, to how Trinidad and Tobago look today. But the climate at that point in time, the climate and the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago at that point in time was very similar to what is happening today. We had a collapse and downsizing of many companies. My husband was into construction at that point in time. He was one of the welder fabricators that built the Twin Towers. But at that point in time, the country was going through something similar to what is happening now. He lost his job. Soft drink manufacturers was, you know, was kind of changing up at that point in time. We had significant layoffs, spiking unemployment to about over 22%, introduction of VAT, removal of cost of living. You all, well, I mean, you all have some youth here, but you know, you all remember that climate, right? High loan, mortgage delinquencies, notable migration from Trinidad and Tobago, IMF involvement, and devaluation of the currency. What is happening with Forex is just the government don't want to devalue the currency right now. So that's why we're having those Forex challenges. Similar climate. So what I'm saying to you as well, if we could have said, you know what do we do at that time in our life, because we had a young baby, right? My husband lost his job, as I told you, just came out of school, and something had to happen to make ends meet for our very young family. I had no parents who could have given me any money. At that point in time, I probably didn't even know what an investor was. It was ignorance on fire. But knowing what and why we were doing something and why we were pursuing what we had to do, start with first family. We had to do something to provide for our family, and faith that whatever we are pursuing, that we have no choice but to succeed. So every day when we go out there in the cart on Kireb Junction that my husband built, as I told you, he was a welder fabricator, and we sold $6 one day, $10 a next day, $20. That's perseverance, but that is faith and believing in what we are doing. And we knew at some point in time, you know, there's some level of purpose. We're feeding the family, we're providing for the home, we're building something, wasn't sure what. And at that point in time, you know, you would hear the speakers speak about vision. You would hear a lot of your mentors and coaches and everyone saying that you must have a vision. I grew up with my mother sewing. She was a seamstress to provide for us. So that household talent, you know, came upon me. So I used to sew a lot myself. My first income generator was buying clothes at Jimmy Abood and making clothes to my friends on the street. And, you know, and that is how I was kind of generating some income as a young teenager. So I could remember, though, at that point in time, flashes of seeing a building, but I always thought that it would have been garment or fashion, right? But I had a vision of a factory that doing some level of business. So don't discount those visions that you have. It's God placed it in you, right? So hold on to that vision, hold on to that dream. So how this journey started? This journey started, as I told you, to provide for our family and taking our savings, which was just $3,000 to start our business. $3,000. I don't know, maybe it was scrap metal my husband found to put up this cart, but I could remember us buying a 10-quart ice cream pail. That was the first little equipment, a blender, and going to the market and buying some coconut and some tubs of peanut butter. And we started with a coconut ice cream and peanut ice cream. And I must say today, those are our two flagship flavors. So yes, we started with one cart on the Curab Junction, and yes, I heard the lady speak about her family and not even acknowledging you as the leader and stuff. But I could remember my sister who went to St. Joseph Convent, passing on the street and wondering, what Cathy doing? What's she doing on the side of the road selling ice cream? My question to her was, are you helping me provide from what is happening with my life right now? So be careful of those dream stealers around you, and unfortunately some of them are in our households. So what happened with the carts? As people start to enjoy the product, we sort of started offering carts at different locations. It was at the Curab, San Juan, Dinsley Junction, Arima, and so forth, right? And as I didn't also mention that we started this business downstairs my mother-in-law house, in a little old room, a 10 by 10 little room is where we started this business. I'm just painting this picture to tell you it is not how you start, but how you finish, right? So don't discount your beginnings, right? Value your beginnings, your humble beginnings. So what has been happening? We grew out of the 10 by 10 space on Prisca Road, San Juan. And someone told us about, just after the coup, there was this building that was looted out in Champlain. No roof, and when we went to look at it, vines covered all over this building. And they presented us a price for this building. We watched the price and was like, what? You know, how are we going to pursue that? I want to also give, I always have to mention the credit union, because the credit union was our financial backbone at that time, right? Eastern Credit Union, that we went to them and we told them that, you know, we are growing out of our space of operation and we need to, you know, acquire a bigger space. A lot of persons look at that and say that we all are crazy. From a 10 by 10 space downstairs your mother-in-law house in San Juan to a 25,000 square foot building. We knew what we wanted, and we knew what God was saying to us at that point in time. Believe in yourself and pursue what you have to pursue despite the odds. It took us 2.5 years going back and forth to that board, who was only sending us back, we're not ready, we can't afford. Everything that that board or the credit committee said that we could not do, we went back and we did it. Developing yourself. Keep working on yourself. Do not take a failure and a no as, okay, you want to give up. Right? You have to fight over. Believe in yourself. So today, Bees Ice Cream manufacturing facility, our distribution area, and where we house as our head office for 40 hardworking staff members, is in that building in Champlain. What would have happened is that those locations that we had those carts, I can't say fortunately, I can't say it was luck, it's by God's grace, that those locations has our outlets. So there's an outlet in Curab Junction, there's an outlet in San Juan, there's an outlet in Dinsley Trinity, there's an outlet in Arima, covering the east. That's where we started, building the community, hiring people from the community, and that is how the Bees Ice Cream outlets really was birthed and started to, you know, to flourish throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the experience of persons coming to the outlets, because I told you we were from the east, how can we make this product now or how can we get this product into the hands of national Trinidad and Tobago? And that could only be done by way of seeing how we can develop this product to get it into the supermarkets. So when persons go to shop and buy their groceries, our product there, that was a challenge. That was a milestone. Because we were told there and then, because we went to Kariri, we need help. You know, how can we develop this product? Because we have to have cold chain management, you have to have cold storage truck, you have to have quality control, making sure this product from factory in Champlain reaches a baby who is having a scoop of ice cream with a quality that is going to stand. How can we do that? And thank God for the competencies that, that would have worked with us. We now have a distribution team and a distribution platform that takes our product throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And that really could not happen without the hard-working staff of Bees Ice Cream. And so we didn't only build a business or build a product, we built a family, right? And the family of Bees, as you can see, these are some of the staff that represent the brands out there, in and out, dealing with competition, because yes, there's an ice cream war out there. Everybody wants their space on the shelves. My team grew with me. I could remember when I was doing my master's, I came back to the office space and I share everything. So as I grow, you know, the staff grow with me. So persons came into the organization, some of them over 20 years, some of them now have their own businesses because they would have grown with us. So question for leadership, grow your people. And sometimes you could be leading from behind, right? Give your persons, you know, who have the competencies, who have the skills and the talent to be their own internal entrepreneur within the organization. Yeah, so we do lots of things together. We dine, we laugh, a family with a sick baby member, we in the hospital, we praying for them. We operate like a family at Bees. So once I was asked a question, so how do you impact your team? I said, here's what, my team has a problem, that's my problem. So we are there to support each other. And that's the type of culture that we have at Bees. And yeah, we do crazy things. So that's our space that we meet and share and develop the people, but we enjoy what we do as a company. As I said, the product, Bees Ice Cream, you will see the brand in the shelves, but I'm very, 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 very passionate about the quality, the consistency, and being true to who we are. So it's over 30 years. The formula hasn't changed, only if the ingredients that we put in, the quality of that ingredient has changed, will make us have to revamp. But it's the same condensed milk. It's coconut milk in there from Cedrus. Right? It's rum and raisin from our own Fernandez. Right? So we are true to ensuring that we have very strong relations with our local suppliers to make the brand of Trinidad and Tobago, you know, to be true to who we are. Where are we now? As I mentioned, we're in supermarkets across Trinidad and Tobago, servicing over 200 customers on a weekly basis. We have independent operators, and we have independent little franchise models. And yes, Carla, we do have some franchise agreements. Over 40 staff members, and as I mentioned earlier, strong agro-processing and local industry linkages. 8 outlets throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Where are we going? Bees Homemade Ice Cream, as we started, Carla, when we started, and I'm saying this for those who are looking to register their names and stuff, you know, we registered because we came up with this name. How did we get the name Bee or Bethel or husband? And we come up with the Bee, we got the Bumblebee, and you know, and if you all would have seen that logo from before, that Bumblebee was looking like a little fly, you know. But today, you know, we have Busby, Belinda, however you want to call him, you know, the character B really evolved. The coconut trees representing us in the tropics. But when we registered at that time was B's Homemade Ice Cream Limited. Right? But now, with the growth and development, the diversification and the understanding of what is happening, you can't sometimes hold on to one product. As Kivo, you know, you have the multiple products. We have to have multiple streams of income. And what is happening with the reality of what is happening with your economy, you have to look at diverse ways as to how you're operating. So what is happening with B's Ice Cream right now and what we are trying to say? We really want to be true to who we are. Right? We do have some exotic type flavors, right? And that is what we want to develop more, using the ingredients that we grew up on. So when we are communicating, we are saying, hey, come be exotic and taste the tropics at B's Ice Cream. So that's our new mantra, and that's what we're working on right now, just moving from the B's Homemade Ice Cream, because you know, it keeps you in that homemade category, because sometimes we still get the question as to, you're still making the ice cream at home, you know? So we have to try to, you know, change the conversation a bit and really communicate the essence as to who we are. So what we would have done in looking at uplifting our brand and what we are saying and what we are communicating, we would have tested a flagship store at the Starlight Mall in Diego Martin, and it's a space that we communicating a different appeal. So it's now the B's Tropical Ice Cream Cafe, a place where you could come and celebrate, you know, you as a person and who we are. What we have now coconut ice cream, coconut crusted fried ice cream balls on offer, right? So what we would have done, we would have joined with the competencies of a chef to help us take our product and see how we can make now exotic, interesting appeals, you know, to get people to enjoy ice cream in an exotic way. Right? We have, well, sorrel, all of us know sorrel. We have the sorrel sorbet. What you're seeing there in her hand is a green onion and mac and cheese light salad. Because if we're saying we are a cafe, we are not only offering ice cream, we also have a tapas menu as well. Right? What you're seeing there as well is our local cocoa waffle with a coconut ice cream on top of it. So our chocolate ice cream is really used from our cocoa made here in the Rancho Camaro, you know, cocoa estate. And what we would have done, we would have used that same cocoa and made some waffles. So now we have, you know, just making ice cream a little more different. Below, so that is how the outlets are going to look, giving you that tropical feel and all of that, a warm space. Below is the pineapple and papaya twin tower. We call it the twin tower, which is really ice cream stacked on a phyllo, just to make ice cream now a little different and exciting. Right, so that is what B's is communicating right now. So upon reflection, the question is, what is happening now? And what is happening, you know, to our beautiful country? What are the opportunities and gaps right now that's in front of our faces? And for us who are thinking of, you know, rekindling that entrepreneurial spirit, moving from your area of work and going into business, you have to look, because there are so many opportunities that are facing us right now. It's time for change. What is your why? And where do you want to go? Don't wait. It's time to start your journey. It's time to develop your grit. Let your passion lead you, because you know where passion really comes from, right? So whatever that you are passionate about, let that lead you. Rekindle that entrepreneurial spirit in you. So from me to all of you here, blessings, and thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very, very much. That was so interesting. I want to introduce another panel member who incidentally is our next speaker. who has just arrived, and she is Miss Stephanie Pemberton, CEO and Managing Director of Planting Seeds Caribbean. Stephanie is a Trinidadian-born businesswoman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist with a passion for helping underprivileged children through her involvement in the It's For the Kids Foundation. In 2010, she graduated with an honors degree in business administration from the Richard Ivey School of Business at the University of Western Ontario. Upon graduation, she gained 2 years work experience as an investment analyst and a further year of experience as a credit analyst before she left the corporate world to pursue her entrepreneurial ventures. In late 2013, she co-founded the Caribbean's first successful automotive TV series, Bad Granny, which is now in its 4th season with partner Jason Reese. As managing director, she grew the business, which has now expanded into a group of companies that include production and filmmaking, engineering of marketing trucks, automotive product distribution and sales, as well as events. As executive producer and founder of Bad Granny Media, Stephanie directs the creative content and direction of the production company for the company's clients, and also for the company's own television series, including Planting Seeds, Bad Granny, BG Motorsports, and Decoded. She also manages the entrepreneurial development division of Planting Seeds and works closely with strategic partners, investors, and entrepreneurs to develop SMEs in the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Stephanie Pemberton.
Everyone, thanks for having me today. So I'm going to get straight into it because I know that we're a little bit behind time. And the first thing, what my presentation about today is about investor readiness. So I don't know if any of you have seen Planting Seeds before on television, but it is an entrepreneurial development TV program, kind of like a Shark Tank or a Dragon's Den if you watch those shows. And entrepreneurs get to come onto the show to pitch their business ideas to a panel of investors, right? So this season, I see one of our entrepreneurs, Angela, is in the audience. So this season, we've had different investors come onto the show, people like Derek Chin, Imtiaz Ahmad, Sintra Kusal, and these people will now hear business pitches in order to be able to invest in entrepreneurs who need capital and investments to grow, right? So what the presentation is how to be ready for an investor, how to prepare yourself in order to be able to pitch to an investor to gain financing. Because sometimes you might want to, approach an investor and sell shares in your company in order to get funding. So the first slide is on what is investor readiness, right? So I outlined 3 steps here that we're just going to talk about today that are going to basically give you some guidelines as to how to be investor ready. So the first thing is that you have to clearly understand what your business is, what it's valued at, and what you are prepared to give up for an equity stake in your business if you're going to an investor. And understanding your business is we'll get into that part after. So here's just like a quick summation of what we're going to be talking about, and then we'll get into each point. The second thing is you have to create a pitch deck. We're going to get a little bit in today about how to create a pitch deck and what are the main things that go into a pitch deck to be successful. And I'll also show you an international pitch deck from Uber as well. And I can show you how simple it is, how easy it is, and how they have been able to raise all of their funding in order to create such a big company, right? The third aspect is you have to be really prepared to put yourself out there and work and give 150%. So a lot of people say, okay, great, entrepreneurship is wonderful, it seems like a great idea, I have a business plan, and at the end of it, when they get involved in it, they burn out after a while because they don't realize that you have to give up a lot in order to be an entrepreneur. You have to give up your time. This is not an 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 clock in. It's a 24-hour job for a good while. So you have to have a good assessment of where you are in your life and say, you know what? I want to give up a big chunk of my life, a big chunk of my friendships, family, those kinds of things. I mean, family is very important. You should always stay with your family and do that. But there is a lot that you have to give up. And a lot of people don't realize that until their second or third year of business. So having a clear understanding of what your business is, we were going to show a pitch, but I doubt that we can do that on the system right now. But I can explain this really easily, and it's pretty much simple. You just have to know what your business is about. Who are you? What are you doing? What are you selling? What are you good at? A lot of people say, okay, well, you know, I want to go into an app. And then they might say, I want to go into a geography app. But then they know nothing about geography. And then they have to start from the beginning. So it's fine if you want to get into something and you know nothing about it. You start from the beginning, but you have to put all of your research and education into it to understand who you are and why you're doing this. A lot of people, I came from the finance world, and I do like the finance world, but then I ended up in the production world. But I had to learn all about production. I had to hire people that were experts who can teach me, and I still learn every day from my staff. So you have to really be prepared to know what you're doing and know what you are and know what you like. I ended up liking production. I wake up every morning and I love doing it. We have our challenges, we have our problems, but I enjoy working with camera crews. I enjoy doing the shows. I enjoy planting seeds and helping entrepreneurs develop. And if I didn't enjoy it and know what I was, then I would not be able to continue, right? You'll burn out. So first thing we're going to look at is, I give you the answer already. What is your business valued at, right? So we're going to take a little bit of a little questionnaire here if anybody can come up and can answer it if you didn't see the answer already. So if you're going to an investor and you're telling that investor that you want to sell them 20% equity of their business, of your business for $2 million, right? Then what do you think you're valuing your business at? Can anybody give a guess?
10 million.
10 million? Who said 10 million? Great. And how did you get your 10 million? 20%
is 150. So to make it 400, they just multiply by 5.
Exactly, right? So you basically are saying that you have this pie, and this pie is worth $10 million, right? And if you cut off 20% of that pie, it's going to be worth $2 million. And that is what you're going to be selling that investment for, right? Now, a lot of people who are now starting off are not going to be able to start off with a business that right off the bat, you can see it's worth $10 million. It may not have $10 million in sales in its bank account. But how do you justify that your company is worth what it is before you go to an investor and say, hey, you know what, give me $2 million and I'll give you 20% of this. And with that $2 million, we can reinvest, we can invest in this company and it's going to be growing to a $10 million business. And that is what going to an investor is about. It's about being able to put a value, to know yourself, one, and know what you're about, know what you're doing, be very educated and confident in what your business is. And then two, being able to put a value on that business and then sell a piece of that value to somebody else, right? Now, how did you come up with the funds? Funds is a little bit wrong here. How did you come up with your valuation, right? Now, a business is valued in numerous different ways. It's a technical process in terms of how you can value your business. There are 4 different ways of valuations. And it seems a little bit intimidating to people when they look at valuations and they look at numbers and they're like, well, what is a discounted cash flow analysis, right? And at the end of it, you can go online and you can type in stuff, you can read it, and I can show you a discounted cash flow analysis model. We wouldn't have time for me to go through exactly what all of these mean and how the calculations are, but I can give you an overview of how they're done. So basically, there are 4 different ways of valuing a company, right? You can use your discounted cash flow analysis, and what that really does is it projects revenues into the future, and then it quantifies how much it is worth today. It takes into consideration inflation, taxes, growth in your business, and a certain level of risk. And it discounts that amount to give you a present day value. So you basically say, okay, my business this year made $100,000 in sales. Next year, I'm going to get a new contract and it's going to increase my sales by 100%. So next year, I'm going to have 200,000. And my strategy is to be able to get 5 new contracts every year. So at the end of 10 years, my business may have $10 million. And if you can justify that revenue and say that it's worth $10 million and you put it into the fancy Excel spreadsheet that I'll show you later, then you can basically come up with a final number that will give you how much money your business is worth, right? Oh, where is this? Oh, ROI is one thing that investors also look for. I forgot to mention that. But we can come back to the return on the investment after. Where is this? No, now it's gone. Now it's really gone. Okay. Can we get that back? Okay, great, perfect. So basically, there are 4 different methods of valuing a company, right? One, the discounted cash flow method, which is most commonly used, which is where you basically project your revenues, and then you have to provide justification for why you think that there would be an increase in sales. It's kind of like a bargain. It's like saying, hey, I think that I can do this in 3 years. And factor in all the risk, factor in the inflation, factor in taxation, factor in these other things, and let's make that 5 years of projections boil down to one final figure. And then you go to your investor and you say, if you invest in me, after 5 years, we're going to have a $10 million company. Give me $2 million in for 20% now so that I can make this company into a $10 million company, right? Any questions so far? No? Oh, okay, right. Oh, okay, great, perfect. So now we have the comparable transactions method. And, you know, don't get intimidated by long, big words. Maybe they can give you the presentation after, and you just Google it. But in finance, you have something called the EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, right? And it's very, very easy. All you have to do is your sales minus your expenses, take out your depreciation. I'm not too sure how advanced you'll learn depreciation, but it really is simple. And then you take out your taxes, and then you come out with how much money your company earns. So it's basically just your profit. So this comparable transactions method is basically looking at your different ways of assessing your company from a profitability standpoint, right? How much money is this company actually making? Now, this might be a valuation that might be for entrepreneurs that have a business already, and that are going to an investor with a already sustainable, functioning business that can say, listen, I'm making $4 million in profit every year. This is what I'm going to be worth, right? So it's more hard numbers that they might have because they have the actual transactions to go with that earnings, sales minus expenses. Then they have the multiples approach. This is a different one where you basically go and look at other companies in the industry that are similar, and you basically can gauge yourself against it. So we had on our show a company called Pink Cab, and they are kind of like an Uber, right? So they would have that kind of way of, maybe they might look at Uber and maybe they might take out some money out of Uber. Maybe they might say, our market is smaller, so let's size it down and use that as a gauge to get their final figure for their company. So this is what a pitch deck would look like. I'm going to skip over the numbers part, but basically you have to justify your numbers. That's the main thing about doing a valuation and getting an investor. You have to say why you think that you'd be able to make this amount of revenue. If there are 1 million people living in Trinidad and Tobago, or 1.5 million people, and every single person needs soap. And I think that I can sell, 1 bar of soap to 50% of the people in Trinidad. Then you have to now say, why do you think that 50% is achievable? So that's what an investor is going to hone down in. Like, what is your you just came up with this number, how are you going to take 50% of the market? And that's where the skill in entrepreneurship is. It's in being able to justify your own projections and going for them and making sure that it happens. Now, a pitch deck is very simple. These are 9 main things that your pitch deck should have. It shouldn't be long, it shouldn't be drawn out, it's not a big report. It's basically something to hook the investor when you first talk to them. And these are the main things that you should have. You should identify the problem that's in the market. So what is the problem? For Uber, it was, we think that hailing a cab is inefficient and payment methods are inefficient. And we're going to fix that problem by creating an app where you don't have to pay and you can just get someone arrive at your doorstep, right? So they outline a problem and a solution. Then they assess the market. What is the market for the product? Who's going to buy this product? Why would they buy it? And then they basically talk a little bit about traction, yes, but these are some of the other things. The team is always very important to an investor. So they always look at you as a person before they look at anything else. If they think that this person seems a little bit flaky or it doesn't look like this person is actually going to go ahead and push forward for this business, they haven't done their research, they're overestimating how much they think they can do, they're going to lose credibility in you. So you as a person, especially as a young person, you need to build up your credibility from the beginning. If you're in school, start doing school projects, start doing extracurricular, start doing a sport, start building up your rapport so that when you go to anybody, whether it's an investor, an employer, anybody that you meet and that you want to get business from or do work with, they look at your track record and they say, well, this person has a proven track record of doing this thing consistently, and that's what we're going to judge them on, right? The next thing is that they always look at, these are the main things that you should have, but investors also look at your financials, if you have them, if you're not a startup in the very early stages, and they also look at your competition. Who else is in the market? How are you going to enter the market? How are you going to capture market share from that person? And a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs underestimate the power of the competition that they're going up against. And that basically puts them into trouble. And then they also underestimate how many people can enter the market after they have entered. So you come up with your great new product, it's amazing, it's fine. You come up with a new type of shoe that is more comfortable for women. And you sell some shoes in 6 months, and then 2 months later, everybody else is coming up with the same shoe. They've copied your design, they've done this, they've done that. So you have to be able to properly assess your competition and figure out how you're going to get into the market. One, if there is competition. If there's no competition in the market, when you get in, how are you going to block others from coming in? We're going to skip on to these things because I only have 1 minute left. But what else is really, really important here? Okay, so we can go to the valuations and the ROI calculation, right? So valuing your company and providing a potential ROI for the investor is important. Now, a lot of people know ROI as return on investment, and that's something that's used all the time in business jargon and language. So it'll be nice to familiarize yourself with it all the time, right? So say that you have your ROI calculation basically is your net profit from the profit that the investor will get divided by the total amount they invested, and you multiply 100 by 100 to get the percentage, right? So if the investor puts $5 million and the profit over 5 years is $20 million, right? So I'm an investor, I come to you and I say, hey, I'm going to give you $5 million, and over 5 years, my profit, 5 years later, you come back and you give me, and the company makes 20 million, and you give, well, company makes more, but you give me $20 million, right, out of my cut. What will be the ROI after 5 years? Based on the formula that I just gave you. Net profit divided by total invested, multiplied by 100. So your net profit is 5 million. Your total invested, your net profit is 20 million, and your total invested is 5 million. What is the percentage? Anybody? No? Okay, 400%, right? So basically, if you do your net profit divided by the total amount invested by 100, you have 400%. So I'm run out of time, But I hope that you enjoy the presentation. And if you want to look and see more about how entrepreneurs pitch to investors, you can tune into Planting Seeds. It's on Thursdays at 8 p.m. prime time. It also reruns during the week. And you can see how entrepreneurs pitch their business ideas to investors and the kind of responses that investors give and the people who have gotten through and got investments. We also do some follow-up stories on them on what happens after the investment and how they interact with the investors, which is also important. So that's it. Thank you.
Next step. You need to join. Thank you, Stephanie. And we move on to our second panel discussion. On this segment, Grow. You may also ask questions on the segment Start. Beside Stephanie, Catherine and Stephanie, and talking about investor readiness and financing, please remember we also have a subject expert in Elson James from JMMB sitting on the panel. So can we have your questions concerning any segment really? And please say who you're addressing the question to.
Hi, good morning. I'd like to address this question to Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
As a young entrepreneur who had 2 ventures in the year and the 2 ventures failed, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur in moving forward and past failure like that?
Check. Okay. You have to assess what went wrong and look at the different segments of your business to see where the problems would have arisen. And most importantly, moving forward, I think mentorship is very important. I think having learned from your failure, you have to find a mentor or somebody who would have done it already. It doesn't have to be the same business, but somebody who would have done it already, who can guide you. So in the capacity of an action coach, as Mrs. Bethel is, having somebody who can guide you along the process is very important. We can't do it by ourselves. So learning that knowing that you have failed and you have learned from your mistakes, finding somebody who can help you is probably the most important thing, having a mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kizzy Emmanuel. I am a hairstylist. I am the manager of my Hair Lady Beauty Salon in Muruga. I'm also a CPEP contractor, and I'm also a singer/songwriter. This morning, I'm directing my question to Mrs. Bethel. Before I ask the question, I must say I salute you. I'm very proud of you because I can relate to some of the things that you spoke about earlier. I am a hairstylist by profession. I am not where I want to be right now, but I'm doing well. Where I really want to be is like in a place where I could like teach younger ladies, upcoming hairstylists to be better at what they do. My salon is at home in my yard, but I have a very large clientele, very, very large clientele. I have a lot of young people coming to me like with their beauty culture projects and stuff. I go into the school, Muruga Secondary, and help. I don't ever charge. But I want to be bigger and better at what I do. And my question to you is, how do I go about expanding this business?
Thank you so much. What I could advise you to do to talent, that gift that you have. Think of success, as the coach would have shared earlier, as not as, or your purpose not as only being successful, but being significant. One person at a time. So every opportunity we have to engage someone, you know, there's something called leaning in. I would have been exposed to this through my exposure with Mrs. Manning, through the John Maxwell team. We all must learn to lean in every opportunity that we have with the persons around us. You can be so significant to that one person, that one student, that individual who came to you to say, I want to do better, I want to be a hairstylist like you. You know, as I say to persons many times, as to what really am I in business for? You see, the 40 staff members, we are impacting 40 plus households every fortnight, every month, right? So just one person at a time. Start with what you have in your hand. You have your gift, you have your talent, you have your space, you have the person that God would have sent in front of you. Impact them by leaning in, listening to what they want, and just communicating that way. One at a time, one day at a time. And that is bigger than what you think really big is, right? Because that time that you would spend with that person, helping them to feel better about themselves, helping them to pursue their own goals, can be $1 million to that individual. And that is much bigger than having $1 million in the bank. Yeah?
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to just add to what she was saying there, right? And because as you were talking, I actually got a lot of different ideas as to how I think you could develop your business. Because you said two key things. You said you're a hairdresser, and then you said, was it singer and songwriter? Okay, so you all are probably going to think I'm going to say the same thing over and over, but I really do believe in digital media. And I think that one of the ways you could build your business is to start content. Content is king right now. So you said you already give away, you do free hair and whatnot for different schools. So I think one of the things you could start with is possibly think about uploading some of those videos onto YouTube or starting an Instagram page if you don't have one already. And then, because you said you're already a singer and songwriter, you should embed those videos with your original music. So then you're now positioning yourself as a hairdresser who also sings, who also can create, you know, original music and so forth, and as a potential lyricist. And that distinguishes you from a hairdresser who just does hair. And that's how you put yourself out there. And then ask your, of course I'm going to now say, advocate for releases. Because one thing that really annoys me is if I go to a hairdresser, I go to a makeup artist, and the next day I see a picture of myself on your Instagram. You didn't ask my permission. I don't want to endorse your thing without having been asked or paid or whatever the case may be. But ask your client if they're willing to come on board and then start building a brand in that way and using, as I said, your music and your already God-given talents to promote yourself, and you never know. Just yesterday, I have a real-life example. My hairdresser currently does some work with the Miss World pageant, right? And they put some content online the other day of different works that they're doing with some of the girls and whatnot. And literally, we were at her salon yesterday, and she was showing me a message between herself and one of Beyonce's hairdressers, who's a Trinidadian, who saw the work that they had done on the Miss World contestant and reached out to her and said, hey, this is great work, you know, can we potentially collaborate, what's happening? So I think the short message of what I'm saying is you have to put yourself out there to start. You cannot, nobody is going to build a business from being shy. And the fact that you've even asked the question demonstrates that you're willing to start, and I think use all of your various aspects and build them all together to promote yourself.
Hi, I'm going to be short. My name is Wendy Nobby. I'm a family therapist. And I just wanted to, actually I have lots of roles, but I just want to respond. What's your name? Sorry? Kizzy. Kizzy, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, and it's something that I see a lot as an experienced older person, in business and have experience in her profession. I hear from you, and I don't know if anybody else got this, that you really are looking for a mentor, an older person to mentor you. That's what I got sitting there. And I'm telling you, grab it, use it. You've got lots of them in the room as the day progresses, and look for somebody. That's what I was getting mostly from you. I understood all your talents, and I think they're great, but I think you need support at this juncture. Am I correct? Yes, that's what I'm getting. And use it. It's going to be available for you all the time. Okay, get it, grab it. Ask for help when you need help. Don't be ashamed. Don't put any myths attached to help. Because strong people ask for help. Leaders ask for help. Thank you very much.
Nobby.
I would like to hear from the banker's perspective, because most entrepreneurs say banks are their enemies.
That's what I was just about to say. Thank you, Susan. So,
I'm not sure if we're enemies. Morning, everybody. I guess, well, one thing I definitely did want to point out, and it'd be remiss of me not to put the plug. So I'm CEO of JMMB Express Finance. JMMB Bank was actually started by a woman entrepreneur in Jamaica. A woman who worked at a bank up until her mid-40s or 50s, decided that the product that she was giving as a banker in Jamaica wasn't what she thought the man on the street or the woman on the street would want. And she went out on a limb and literally started a bank. So it really is about just dreaming and going out and get it. From a banker perspective, it's two things. One, and I think Stephanie touched on it earlier, if you're looking for an investor, meaning someone to partner with you, someone to help you grow the business, that's one thing. If you're looking for a loan, I think both the banks and the credit unions are definitely there for your assistance. I think some of the issues, however, is in making that transition from an entrepreneur to a business person is where we see the fall off. So I always use the two letters YL. Assume that when you go into a bank or any banker or any investor, they're going to say you lie. And therefore, you have to be able to prove what you're saying. So if you're saying that, hey, I'm making ice cream and I'm selling 500 ice cream every week and each ice cream is $1,000, I'm going to say, well, you lie. Prove to me that you really are doing it. And some of the ways of proving is where the things start to fall off. Because most of the times, you probably are doing it, but you can't prove it. You take the money and you go out and you buy the ingredients and you're running your business, but there isn't proof of it anywhere. So one thing I always advise entrepreneurs and small businesses, as painful as it may be, always deposit your money. It allows for a way of proof that you are actually making income. So even if you make the $1,000 from the ice cream and you deposit it and you take it right back out to buy your ingredients, it shows that there is deposits coming into an account from a business. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's not sexy, it's not cool, it's very boring, but you have to also start to record the things that you're doing. You have to write down whether it doesn't have to be fancy, just I sold 10 ice cream at $10 on this day, this is how much I sold. And then show where that money went. I bought 10 buckets of peanut butter, this is how much I spent. And you keep that record. And with that, more and more you're seeing banks and other financial institutions working with entrepreneurs, taking that information. It doesn't even have to be in any kind of fancy financial statements, and helping you to build financial statements out of that. So the two things. One, deposit your money when you do start to make revenues. Deposit, so you can show and start to record it. Always be prepared to support and back up what you say that you are doing in order to prove that you can get the loan.
Thank you, sir. I see there are no more questions. Oh, I was looking at the microphone, sorry.
Good day, I'm Elizabeth Thompson. Okay, based on what was said just now, you're talking about getting a loan based on a business that's already existing. But if somebody is approaching the bank or the credit union, financial institution, to now start a business, like, okay, I'm in business already, but I'm looking at starting something. I'm literally at the point where I'm putting things together to start another business, which is totally separate and apart from what I'm doing. I don't have financial statements to come to you with right now. Now I have, like I went online and I would see other people who are in a similar business, kind of prices they would charge and that type of thing, but I don't have proof that I have it. But I have proof that it is a viable company, it's something that will make money. Can I come to you and say, listen, this is what I'm proposing, this is what happens already in Trinidad, this is the kind of money that is the potential of the business. Will you work with something like that as a lending institution?
It's a good question. It's a very tough question. It's tough because not just us, but any financial institution is going to, because what you're looking for is not so much a loan, but at that stage you're looking actually for an investor. Because what a bank, if you think about the structure, so there are two types of ways to get money, one from an investor and one from a bank. A bank is a pool of money of depositors, so we all put money in our banks and we want to make sure that when our salary goes in, we can take it out. And in order to lend your money that you have deposited, the bank has to ensure within reasonable doubt that they can get that back. So when you come to say, I have a business idea, the bank is going to look very, very tough on that to say, well, it's more than just the idea. What makes a business, I think Stephanie would have pointed out, and we see it definitely on Bee's Ice Cream. What makes a business isn't the idea, it's the person behind it. And that normally takes time. I saw the young man said he started 2 businesses and they fail. Because that's what typically happens with a lot of businesses. They fail. It takes a lot of tenacity, a lot of grit, a lot of spending a lot of hours and giving up a lot of your freedom to get a business off and running. So most banks would say, listen, you have a great idea, but I don't know that that would actually turn into something profitable, and therefore you should actually be looking for an investor, someone who invests in you. And for that you say, listen, I have an idea, I will share 25% of my profits or half of my profits with you, and what I would suggest in a case like that is you say, listen, I'll give you this investment for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, you have to allow me the opportunity to buy you out. Because to be honest, it's going to be very difficult from a banking perspective to give a loan to a startup because there's no track record. One way you can do it, though, is leverage your other areas. So we do have investors we do have entrepreneurs that borrow personally. So I'm employed, and I take a loan on my Elson James salary, and I use that to start my business. So Elson James is investing in Elson James, so you can do that. Or if you have other assets, borrow on those other assets and use that to start the business, because it's going to be very tough to get a startup loan. So either get an investor or look to your other areas of your life, other businesses or your personal life, to borrow and use that money as your what we call seed capital to start.
Thank you, Elson.
Definitely add to what Elson would have said, because I myself would have gone to the bank with a startup in Black Sheep Barbering. And it took us 5 years to get a yes, right? And the most important thing in business is the ability to sell. And they had to believe us. And as you rightly said, you have to borrow on, some of your personal assets. And we were able to get that done after 5 years. And we had to go down to the analytics of the business. We were in a controlled environment, UE. We had to show them how many male students we had, how many male students cut their hair, how frequently they cut their hair, so that they would believe, listen, all right, this is something viable because we understand the crime situation outside. They would conveniently come to the barbershop, and then they say, well, yes, this makes more sense. So your ability to sell the idea is very important to a bank, so that they will be confident enough, because the numbers are projections. I multiply by 10 and tell them, all right, people come in. No, They want to know, based on actual figures, that you have a market that will be able to come to your business. So startups, you have to be able to sell your business really, really well. All right?
Oh, and one thing I just wanted to add really quickly to that, to add to what Stephanie was saying in terms of when you're going to your investors and you have to show the valuation of your business, I want to just connect that back to when I was talking to you all about intellectual property. This is another area where your IP can be valued, intellectual property valuation. So let's say you're not at the point in your business where you actually can demonstrate numbers. I've sold this in a number of fruits and vegetables, I've sold this number of whatever, physical goods. But you can say, I actually own my trademark, I am in the process of registering a patent, I have a trade secret, whatever. Those things add to the value of a business as well. So it's that intangible asset that also a sophisticated entrepreneur can take to an investor and demonstrate competence in terms of understanding how a business is valued versus having no intellectual property and no sales. Okay.
Okay, thank you. No, any more questions? Okay, well, before we go to break, I see that the mayor is back, but I have the sense that he's not going to stay very much longer. So, Mr. Mayor, we would like to present you with a token. Can we do this now before you run off? Thanks. Made by Glenda.
I want to be part of this. This is so exciting. I came back just now, I brought the CEO to see, I went back to the meeting and I'm boasting about what I saw here this morning and how good, how great it is. So as a CEO, you have to come and see. We sneaked up, we stopped looking in there, and I said just now, it's the meeting starting in 5 minutes, I can't leave. And then they mentioned the award, but that is not important. What I'm hearing here this morning is so important. This is so great for San Fernando. You know? Because what is being advocated here is the future. And the future is now. You have to hold on to these ideas. I was in DR 10 days ago, and I'm looking at DR and they have 2 or 3 million people in Santo Domingo. And all they have there is avocado, pears, cassava, and plantain. But you know what? They have cable cars and metro and things like that. Because any place you go, you're going to eat fish and plantain, beef and plantain, pork and plantain, chips planting, this planting, that planting, the other. They understand what they have to do. Why would you want, people come to me every day, Mayor, I want a job with the corporation. Why you want to work for the corporation? Why you want to work for the state? Work for yourself. That's what it is. And that's what this project is about. All we're hearing from these people here is what they're doing. And you'll be very grateful because we can't pay for this information you're getting this morning. You can't pay the organizers for this, especially the young people. Embrace the ideas and make it happen. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Glenda. We will now have a 10-minute break about a WhatsApp link. If you look in your folders, there is a sheet called Event Specials, and that gives all the information for Terrific Coaching, who will be the entity that will handle workshops and future seminars and so on. So whatever you're interested in, you will find that information on that leaflet, and you can get in touch. All the contact information is there. Okay? Where are the panelists? In the ice cream line. Okay, we need to move on because we do have 2 more speakers before the lunch session. And our final segment in our series is Excel. And we will kick off this segment with a very interesting story. Cheryl Bowles is the managing director of the Herbarium Limited, which manufactures Chimay personal care products and employs 40 persons in Trinidad and Tobago. She is also the chairman of Merle's Hairdressing Supplies Limited, another family-owned business. Ms. Bowles holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Biochemistry from Concordia University, Montreal. She is a former chief chemist and the first woman manager of Nestle Trinidad, head of research and development, head of quality control, and head of product development. An entrepreneur extraordinaire and creator of over 50 Chimere herbal, natural, organic-based personal care products, which are retailed nationally, regionally, internationally. Cheryl was one of 20 Caribbean women entrepreneurs invited by the U.S. Department of State to a forum on women entrepreneurs in Washington, D.C., an initiative of Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State. She is the president of Helping Other People Survive, or HOPS, a non-profit organization which raises funds for children at risk, as well as a presenter, motivational speaker at several workshops and functions throughout Trinidad and Tobago and featured in international, local, and regional media. Ms. Bowles is also the recipient of numerous awards, including Association of Female Executives of Trinidad and Tobago, Business Pioneer 2013, Powerful Ladies of Trinidad and Tobago Business Award 2013, and Republic Bank's Excellence in Business Award, to name a few. Please welcome Ms. Cheryl Bowles.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and this morning was really fab. In terms of the presenters, I also learned a lot, and also in terms of the questions asked by many of you young and upcoming entrepreneurs. My theme today is creating your legend. Every one of us has a story. Every one of us has goals and ideals, and at times it is extremely important that wherever you are in your life, that you continue to dream and to attempt to materialize some of those goals. This is me. Well, you've read all my bio, and I change my hair a lot because change is constant. Creating your legend starts with your intention, right? And many of the questions today asked by young people and other people about starting a business. For me, I used 3 different platforms. One, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there's no path and leave a trail. You don't have to be somebody different to be important. You're important in your own right, and that is very important when you decide you want to branch out on your own. Your confidence plays maximum part in terms of how you see yourself and your ability to succeed. What one does is what counts, not what one had intention of doing. So really putting your money where your mouth is, right? Our business, I'm the founder and managing director of the Herbarium Limited. We've been in business over 30 years. And the business started mainly manufacturing, actually, hair food. We also, right now, have diversified our portfolio in that we have a research and development company that will do research, create products. We also contract manufacture. We have a management service because it was noted that we have another family company and I chair it, and we manage that company because the people who have invested are family members, and at the end of the year, they just want to get their dividends. We export, we manufacture, we distribute, and of course we have spas. And over the period of time, we've diversified because I think going back to what my grandmother said, never put all your eggs in one basket because everything is so dynamic. And at one time, one might be up, the other might be down. So you always have to prepare. Shamir, and our table is there with Jalissa, is quintessentially Caribbean, capturing the unique beauty of our ethnic, our diverse culture. We export, we operate 4 spas in Trinidad, 1 kiosk at Long Circular Moon. And we have a strong community give back project because the community is what feeds us. Your customer feeds you, and it's important to really acknowledge your customer. Okay, so these are some. We distribute the nutmeg from Grenada. We have our spas and the products. So those are some of the things that we do. Why did I start my business? Okay, I didn't necessarily have to. I was chief chemist at Nestle. I was top of my game and very happy. But somehow inside of me, I wanted more. I felt I could contribute, and I wanted to leave an empowering footprint. And that's what each and every one of you, as you continue your journey, will try to leave. You've made a difference. It could be small, it could be big, but you've charted your own course. You've taken your idea and you've run with it. My strengths. So the first thing you have to look at is your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunity. You have to do a SWOT scan on you. So my strength was, I was sassy. I felt so. I was inspired, right? Because we were in a downturn, and even though we were in downturn, I looked and see around us what we could do. And passionate. At Nestle, I gave 101%, and I figured if I ever began to give 99%, it's time to leave. So I was happy to be passionate about anything that I felt that I wanted to do. And I had skill sets. I was a scientist, and I worked for the world's biggest food manufacturer. In fact, when I said I was leaving, Nestle asked me to work in L'Oreal, because at that point, they owned 51% of L'Oreal. And bold, sassy me said, no, I'll do it here. So, how did I start? A seed was planted by my mother, who passed away. And she was a hairdresser, esthetician, very well known. And she suggested that I create a hair food for us in the Caribbean. So I said, okay. And I used her clients as my guinea pigs. So the clients would tell me, help me tweak it. And that's how I started Shamir. Strengths and weaknesses. Again, I had to do a SWOT of, okay, if I am going to do a hair food, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses? We're in a highly competitive environment, imported products. How can I do this? Research. You have to do the research. Research on yourself, research on businesses around you, research on whether you're going to create a niche or whether you're climbing a wall. And you have to, and I've left today on everybody's table to guide you, a piece of paper which when you go home you can probably try to fill in and create your vision board. I was in Canada last week and I was invited to this vision board session. And basically what you do, you take old magazines and cut out images that resonate with what you want to do. It could be personal, it could be business. So if you want to live long and healthy like I did, I cut out images of people drinking green products, cycling. So you begin in your mind to create your own vision board, and you can use it for your business. Create the framework. Create your team. Because even though I may have an idea, I need people to help me develop that. Nurture and empower your team. Relate, collaborate, and listen to the feedback from the ground. No matter how much digital we have, the ground is it. The ground tells you whether you're outdated, you're indated, where you're moving wrong, whether they want you to upgrade. Give staff leadership challenges. I was away for like 6 months this year, and I took 4 of my main staff members, and I assigned them different tasks to be a buddy support with an incentive to each spa. And for each one of them, it was a learning curve. Create the forum for investment, for team building. Invest in technology, and your trademark is important. Shamir is trademark in Trinidad, in the US, in Canada. Because wherever we plant our footprint, we have to make sure that our trademark and our brand is legally registered. Always follow the money, right? You don't leave money up to anybody. Always follow it. Every morning I go online and I check my bank account. So, no, why? Because if, say, I have an overdraft and I'm over, I just engage my bankers. And this is very critical. Engaging your bankers. Bankers are human beings like you and me, but banks intimidate, right? Banks are also looking for business. So I engage my banker. And if I'm saying, listen, I'm going to go over my ceiling today, but I know, could you carry me? Because I know I have post-dated checks coming in. I have cash coming in, right? And once, as a gentleman who is a banker said, you deposit every day, even if it's $1. The bank wants to see the trail, right? So that's very important because it helps to build relationship and it helps to give a picture of your business and you. You have to endure the rose with the thorns. An old lady told me once, nobody promised us a rose garden. So there are days when you're going to be very happy, and then there are days when you're going to be distressed. So you have to ride it out, or you may need to talk to people with like minds who could help you get over that, because this too shall pass. Your customer is king. Your customer feeds you. So you have to be very mindful. And with social media, your customer will tell you as it is. And you have to respond within 24 hours, at least. What is your unique selling point? What is special about your product or your service that has to be defined? Creation of measurable. So if you spend money on advertising, you have to find some way to measure if that is giving you value for your money, right? Visibility, branding. Always show up and have, like we attend a lot of events to make sure that we are not forgotten. We have a staff in 2016. It's important to recognize staff. We've had staff with us up to 2017, from between 10 to 27 years. And in 2016, we held a nice long service award. And then the minister came and the speaker, and staff were, acknowledged for their contribution. Succession planning. You have a business, it's going good. What happens in the next 20 years? Have you created a business to sell it? That's an option. Or do you want family members to also be involved? In the case of my daughter, This is Shamir Canada now, and I'm just going to pull her up. Abba. She is my only daughter, and she really grew with me in the business. So she knew all aspects of the business. But I wasn't sure that she wanted to be in the business because it's my dream and not hers. And after she did her PhD, she did very well. She got Governor General's goal and stuff. She came to me one day and said, I'm ready. And I breathed a sigh of relief. Yes. Okay. And she lives in Canada. And I've been there for the last 7 months because I have 4 grads, very small, and she's really busy, and her husband travels a lot. So she needed the support. She opened one spa in 2013 downtown, and actually she was braver than me. I guess it's building on that. She was walking along one day because the rents are so high and then taxes in Canada are so high. She saw this building, and it was for sale, and she said, I think I'm going to buy this. And of course, when you think you're going to buy something, then you start to think, how am I going to pay for this? So with support, we helped her to get the building. And as I was telling her yesterday, just last week, you know, you are one of few people in Kingston, Ontario, who own a commercial business. So whenever you feel down, feel good. This is some of her staff in Canada in one spa, the first spa. And in spring of this year, that's why I went up, she opened another spa in the suburb. Now, the second spa, the whole demographics and clientele is different. So it meant you had to tweak your stuff. And she uses only Shamir products. She has brought Shamir to Canada, and actually, by bringing it to Canada, it really helped me know that my product is universal. It also helped me to tweak, because the Canadian standard is higher. So customers will come into her, and we had to really look at some of the ingredients you're using, especially the preservatives, and see if we are EU compliant and all that sort of stuff in order to build on that. And this is time for me to go, but successful leadership. Be your own brand. So if you want to be something, you have to practice what you preach, right? Maintain values and mutual respect, because that goes a long way in who you are when you present yourself or how you interpret it. And love the word we, not I, because it's we doing it together. Our Give Back project, we've done big and small give back projects, Habitat for Humanity, and a few years ago, we made a donation to Cancer Society. The journey is perpetual. So even if I am standing here 30-something years over, it's just exciting. My thing is to create, to know the market, to change. And my daughter brings that youth, and many times we have disagreements, but I eventually have to give in to her because she is the now and the future. Thank you for the opportunity to share. And of course, for students, I'm making my pitch or stop at Shamir, San Fernando, any one of our branches. We have special days for students and all different sorts of discounts. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Steve Martin said, another quote, "Be so good they cannot ignore you." And by good, I think he meant not only your product, but also the visibility and recognition of your brand. Here to discuss the topic of branding, our next speaker is Candice Guppy Sobion. Candice started her entrepreneurial story at the age of 10. From the moment she had enough collateral, she could be seen buying and selling goods that were in high demand, from lollies to her neighbors, to lollipops to her classmates. She's always had the knack for supplying the demand. With a passion for making a change in her community, She earned the nod as the youngest newspaper columnist with the Trinidad Guardian, representing the youth voice of TNT. At 19, she journeyed to Jamaica to study international relations at UWI Mona, and this allowed her to fully embrace the Caribbean culture. Returning home as a well-rounded 23-year-old Caribbean woman, she was employed at UWI St. Augustine and later UTT in the area of international affairs. She put her international relations training to work, forging strategic partnerships abroad for both institutions, oftentimes through travel. 3 years ago, Candice formally registered her company's Candy Coated Events and Candy Coated Travels and delved completely into experience management, specializing in events and group travel. The driving force of both companies is to provide curated and personal experiences that resonated strongly with persons in Trinidad and Tobago and across the region. At 32, she's now the full-time director of both companies with a team of 4. Candy Coated annually hosts events locally across the region in New York and Toronto and has taken groups of travelers to India, Bali, and across Africa, to name a few. Please welcome Candice Gopi Sobian.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for the warm introduction and the southern hospitality. It's appreciated, coming from the north. So good afternoon. I'm here to speak a bit about branding. My 2 companies, Candy Coated Events and Candy Coated Travels, have created and forged a strong brand presence throughout the world. We have links, as the chair would have mentioned, in Bali. We have now forged deep connections with people all over the world. And so taking the brand to the world, I needed to ensure that the brand was significantly impactful, noticeable, and was able to gain that attention in an industry that was basically saturated. So I'll give a little bit about my story and how Candy Coated even started. It started because I was able to establish the need for things. So for example, with the lollipops and the lollies, I would have noticed that there was a need for people because on Sundays, my neighbors wanted to eat lollies. And I felt like I could have sold them because my parents were taking me to Flavorite every Saturday to buy a box of lollies that we could eat. And I said, I could sell this. So that graduated to lollipops in school because the children in school, they just wanted to eat, they wanted to suck on this lollipop. I don't know if they still do it, but if it's still done, you all could take that idea and run with it. So when we speak about branding, at the heart of it is really how you make people feel. And just to go back a bit, you have to establish who your customer is, and then establish what their basic needs are, and how can you then supply that need. So yes, a great idea, it's great, and it'll take you far, it'll take you to the end. But before you develop that idea, you first need to establish what need that idea is going to supply or serve. And as all my previous fellow speakers would have mentioned, the customer is king. So in essence, you need to identify who your customer is, identify what their need is, and listen to them. Your goal should never be, the end game should never be money or your personal glory per se. It should always be the need of the customer, and that therein you will find where you can flourish and grow and make it to the end. Because once you are providing for that need that the customer has, you can't lose them. So I'll go into a little bit detail. So when we speak about branding, at the heart of it is really how you make people feel. And that extends to your personal brand, aka who you are in real life, as well as your professional brand. That is what you put out, what you present, what you want people to see. What your friends and family know you for is what you become in business. So what did my friends and family know me for? Attention to detail, planning, execution, advocacy, woman empowerment, good vibes. So when I decided to take the leap into full-time business, what I know now is that I was taking all these with me. When I first started, I would say in this entertainment industry, I was actually in UWI, and there was again a need. There was, brief story, there was a beach duvet happening about 2 hours away from the university, and I realized that my peers, they wanted to go to this. They had no transport because we're all UE students, and it was difficult. So I was able to say, hey, that there is a need, and I'm going to now provide for them. So I put together one bus, just a bus load. I put food on it because by nature, and again, who you are as a person is what you will become in business. So by nature, I am a hospitable person. Again, good vibes. I know how to bring people together to enjoy and to have a good time and to make them happy. So on this bus, I had drinks and I had food, basic needs. That was the best 2 hours for them, you know, and going on from that, they obviously remembered me as, because I showed them a good time and I made them happy in that particular moment, and they will take that memory with them forever. So coming, also in Jamaica, I happened to fall in love with who happened to be another event promoter, but I was already, I guess my joy was already coming from this type of field, and I happened to fall in love with this event promoter, which I didn't want to, because, you know, event promoters don't really have that good reputation. So I fell in love with this guy, eventually came back home, and again, because I would have forged the relationships with a lot of people in the Caribbean, and of course Trinidad is the home of Carnival. People were coming to Trinidad for Carnival. They had just started coming, and so again another bus ride. My husband again, he was hosting a Juve out of a very innovative concept, and it was difficult for him to get people there. And I said, there's a need, and there's also my husband who needs something as well. So what I did was I put together another bus ride, 2 buses, and I said, hey, I want you to go to that event, but I had to convince them. So I took them to 2 other events before to make them feel like it was a complete, well, not to make them feel, but to let them know that it was a complete experience. So, you know, 100 people probably came to this bus, and again, I showed them a good time. I showed them, because of course, I love my country and I love my culture, so I wanted to give them a full experience of what it is to be visiting Trinidad and Tobago for Carnival. So this, my crowd grew from this 100 people because they told other people. And what I want to stress in branding is that your reputation, your brand is your reputation. So do what you can do and do it to the best of your ability. Again, also you cannot please everybody. So try to focus your skills again on your customer. So let me go back to the paper. So what I did, right. So the brand that I built, Candy Coated, has grown into a destination and cultural experience management company led by a group of Caribbean women across the globe. So this group of companies, which is Candy Coated Events and Candy Coated Travels, and in time, my hopes is that I eventually add more and more companies that create impact on people's lives. It's a professional company, first of all, with a notable reputation for consistent quality customer service through event and travel experiences internationally. But how did I get here? I had to learn a few things about branding, and that's what I want to share with you all today. So understanding and creating your brand presence, developing your brand character, the value of consistency, developing a brand identity, and understanding your unique selling proposition. So what is brand presence? This tells you what the brand is about, the experience that you're buying into. When you see Candy Coated Events, or when my customers see Candy Coated Events, they have already they are already able to associate it with good customer service, professional people, women who smile with you. When you come to the event, you know that you're getting your money's worth. So they have no problem with handing over, and this just started with, reputation has to start somewhere. So you start once, but consistency is key. Your reputation is built on consistency. So the first time you start, and you keep it going. The minute you dive, that's where you actually lose the equity that your brand has built. So stay consistent. So Candy Coated is unique. Our sound, our style, our vibration, the way we tell our stories, it shapes the way the customers and our potential customers perceive us. So our main purpose in life is to find out what our talents are and how we are to use them for our greater purpose. No one gets into business to fail, and the dream cannot build itself. You will need a strong brand to stand on to cultivate a sustainable business. So having said this, what I want to share with you personally today is that having been in the business for 8 years, over the past year, I personally went through a few changes personally and spiritually where I developed my, finding a greater purpose in life and wanting to have a greater impact on the community that I engage in. So it took me a couple months, but I've eventually found the faith within me and the courage to decide to stand in my truth. And that is what your unique selling proposition is. What is the truth of Candice? What can Candice bring to the world that is unique, that nobody else could do? And that is where you find your success. I have to... I've seen that 1 minute thing over there. So let me just touch on this really briefly as best as I can. So finding the best version of the business that you can offer. You and I were given the same number of hours in the day. I could walk around this room and the first person I meet, I know has unique capabilities and abilities with a personality that only they have that can achieve things I can never achieve because it was not meant for me. It was for them. In life, we were all given a unique purpose to live out. If we are to use the context of running a business and pair these two elements together, we would gather that selling our unique talent is the way to go. Once you are doing what you are good at, the success will come. It is inevitable. Stay true and stay living the best version of yourself. The way I see it, okay, no, so how do you define this brand in a nutshell? Defining your brand is essential to developing your brand character. And your character is what people will know your brand for. So this will promote your business, it will connect with your customer base and differentiate you in the market. Like I said, my husband is an event promoter as well, and it didn't take me long to realize that he was running a little faster than me. So I needed to create something in my own lane. I needed to be me because there was no way I could compete with him. So I needed to use everything I was given. I'm a woman, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I have the ability to make people have a good time, I have good customer service, and I keep those things and I hold them and I go with it. Because if I had to look at somebody else and what somebody else was doing, they're running a different pace. They're running a different race. So stay on your own path. So from the time I realized that, I just decided that I had to stick to what I knew best, and that was giving my customer what they needed most. So identify the rational needs and concerns of your active customer base. I learned very early that I could not please all the people all the time, so I had to please the ones that were coming for that unique emotional need. Define the personality traits of your brand, its beliefs, values, and purposes. Do not overpromise and underwhelm. Avoid raising expectations of what you can deliver. Be clear about who your company is and what values it drives it every day. Create trust with honest branding. Maintain a tone of voice that reflects what the brand encompasses. This tone should always be used with the customer so that they are aware of what to expect from your brand experience. Consistency is key. Do not copy or mimic the voice, look, or feel of another brand. Carve your own niche and your voice will be as clear as day, authentic and real original. One that the customer can easily connect and relate to because the customer connects to the truth. Be bold, stand for something you believe in, and your brand will grow in strength. You will earn the respect in a market when you are able to adapt to the evolving needs of the industry. I'll just wrap up here because I know a minute coming there. Okay. So, in closing, for me, my story was divine serendipity. I learned a lot of this along the way by trial and error, but what I held on to the most was, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So what works for you, works for you. Let it work for you. Over the years, I was able to, and I think this is a trait that every entrepreneur seeking fulfillment should embody, identify what works and stick with it. Your consistency matters to your consumer. We come from a little island, but we have big dreams and we want them to be lived out in a way that could change the world. We have big ideas and we have ideas that can reach there. Your idea can change the world. So be truthful, be honest, be you, be consistent, and your brand will brand itself. Thank you.
Candice had me in another zone there. I didn't even know it was my turn to come up here. Okay, thank you. That was fantastic. So now we will start our panel discussion number 3. As we agreed earlier, you can have questions for both Cheryl and Candice, or anything that you may now have thought of for any of the other panelists. Okay? Okay, and there we have our first.
Me, like fabric softener. I am Adrian's little brother, well, younger brother. I'm also a student at Fatima College up north. And
oh, nice. They have a day off.
Well, not really a day off. There was prize giving ceremony, and I left. Instead of going there, I came here to see what I could learn.
Very nice. Wonderful. Well done, Adrian.
But my question to basically the entire panel is, as you know, the Fortnite game is all about, so my business essentially was selling PlayStation cards in school, but I realized exams was coming up. So my question is, how do you balance, selling and your studies, as well as if you're a sportsman and other stuff like that?
Do we? Oh, there it is.
Check one. One of the things that I've realized while I was growing up is that we were never taught how to manage our time as students. When common entrance came around, stop the karate, stop the football, focus on the books. And we were never taught that. And I think that's an important key with anything, because it doesn't get easier when you get older, because you have children, bills, all these different things to manage. So I think you have to develop a proper time management plan in terms of being able to give all the things that are important to you the necessary time. Yes, because studies are coming along, you may shift a little bit, but don't leave anything out. Give everything your energy and create a chart where you can manage your time. So the old school, focus on one thing, forget the other, do not do that. Ensure that you have enough time within a day. It's 24 hours in a day. Make sure you get your sleep, make sure you get your time to sell, and make sure you get your studies. So manage that time properly.
Thank you.
Anybody else needs to address that? Catherine.
I just wanted to add on what Yvonne said pertaining to that time management. But what is more important, because time don't change. The same 24 hours in a day, same 60, minutes in an hour. I think what is also important in time management is managing yourself, self-governance, and understanding what you have to do, prioritizing what is important, right, and getting those things done. So self-management, self-governance is also very important when you're managing your time.
Thanks. Okay, we have another question.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kern Williams from San Fernando. Recently returned to Trinidad after studying a master's in creative industry. So my questions are kind of geared towards Carla and even Candice with the entire panel, because I looked at a lot of Carla's videos for a lot of my papers that I had to do. With respect to even Candice and branding, one of the trends and one of my research interests has been brand expansion, that we're seeing the trend now with Carnival, fetes, going across different regions, which wasn't happening before, different islands. Your events are in Toronto, they're in the US as well. If you, Carla, could address some of the perhaps trademarks and IP issues that comes along with that, for instance, coming into a new jurisdiction, if you have to register certain things in every particular location that you're in, not to run into issues, that you are protected wherever you go, and even kind of with regard to moving the brand elsewhere, because I also am involved with a concierge service, Carnival by Candy, and we deal with a lot of these things, and where our brand as well functions in these markets of knowing, like, hey, is there a need, so to speak? You spoke a lot about needs versus, you know, this is a viable business opportunity, there's another Carnival here, like what allows this space for me as an experience and not a physical product like Shamir, for instance, that this experience could go into this other culture's jurisdiction and still succeed?
Okay. First of all, thank you for watching my videos. That's excellent to know. And it's funny because I actually just yesterday did a data analytics kind of review of the series on Facebook to determine where the viewership was coming from. And I was really shocked at the numbers. It said that most of my viewership was coming from Tobago. The second highest viewership was coming from United Kingdom, and then the third was from South Trinidad. And now here you come.
I also was in the UK, so it probably was that.
I don't know. So that's interesting. So what he's talking about is a series called The Business of Carnival, just to give you all that background. And it's about the legal and business aspects of our carnival industry and how we can use carnival to diversify our economy. That's something I'm very passionate about. I think that carnival is an export tool which we're not marketing and branding properly in Trinidad and across the region. So to go back to answering your question about trademarks and branding and how you were asking, how do you sort of brand how do you manage a brand in various territories, right? So, and then it's funny you asked that because Candice and I were talking about that in the car on the way here, right? In terms of events. So I'll answer it in that context first because it's a broad question. So the short answer is trademarks currently jurisdictional. I say currently because I'm talking about within our laws. So you register your brand. If we draw a parallel with Candice, because you said you wanted her to answer, she has an event name called whatever. Let's call it Candy, right? She registers and she protects that name in Trinidad and Tobago. She owns that for 10 years. The challenge is that Candice is going to go to various territories with this brand name, with this event name. Jamaica Carnival is coming up, right? All these different carnivals are rolling around again. What she has to do is register that trademark in each individual jurisdiction that she wants to seek protection in. Because having protection in Trinidad does not prevent infringement and does not guarantee ownership in other jurisdictions, which is why somebody, I think it was Shamir, was saying that she owned her brands in various jurisdictions, and that's smart IP strategy. And that's when I remember earlier I was talking to you all about having an IP inventory. So you as an entrepreneur have to sit and look at what are the distribution targets that I have. Am I looking at going to Barbados next, Jamaica, wherever? And then you have to sit down and figure out now what is that going to cost me? Because that is, as it is now, you can't use a lawyer based in Trinidad to register your trademark in Jamaica or whatever. You have to use a lawyer over there. Generally, I will refer my clients to colleagues who I know in those jurisdictions, but there's a cost. But it costs to run a business. Yeah. So that's the first part of your question. I don't remember the other part. It was very, it had many layers.
I was also just like asking with Candice particularly, like what somewhat determines, you know, going into another jurisdiction, that need versus business opportunity in this carnival space and really selling that experience as opposed to a physical product. Like what really like keeps that and the pros, the cons, you know, the risks involved in taking this brand into a new jurisdiction.
I was blessed to have a good instinct and the ability, the courage to use that instinct. So in instances where I would have expanded to Toronto and Miami, but it still involves a certain degree of research. So I would have gone to those places and seen myself firsthand as an entrepreneur with an eye for business, seeing that, hey, there's a need here for the candy-coated experience. But in particular, I was lucky enough to have a market of foreigners that were coming to Trinidad. So I saw where those foreigners were coming from. And as the guy from JMMB, as he was saying, recording things is very important. So I recorded everything. So I was able to see the data of where and when these people were coming, how much they were spending, which events they were interested in. At this point, I'm actually going through a process of a brand extension. I'm trying to figure out if there's another brand that I want to create. But what I want to impress is that you can't jump over these steps. You have to go through the academic process of it. You have to hone your craft and your skill, and you have to become educated in what it is you're doing for you to really take it to the next level. So do your research and get there.
So I can speak to this a little bit as well, because our production and media company, we do branding and marketing for different companies, right? So one thing that you have to learn is that you have to build up the brand first before you trademark it into other companies, into other countries, because it's very expensive to trademark your brand. So when you go to Jamaica, like they rightfully said, you have to trademark it in Jamaica. You have to trademark it in the US, it's a whole different ball game, right? So when we were looking at all of the corporations that we manage, a lot of them had the money to go and trademark in South America to do expansion. We do track batteries, and we figured out how to do those trademarks in those countries, and it costed them hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know. And then I was with planting seeds when we had, because Shark Tank is a very similar concept to planting seeds, and then Shark Tank was actually, the concept of Shark Tank was actually from Japan. They had another one called Tiger something. So we had to contact Shark Industries to make sure that we weren't in any kind of violation of their format as well. And out of that, it was really good, because then we ended up, you know, hooking up with Damon John, and we did an event. He came down here, and we have a collaboration with them. But for planting seeds, we said, all right, we're not going to spend the money and try and, you know, get it in the US right there tomorrow, because that money can be reinvested into the company to growing the actual brand on Facebook and Instagram and, you know, those kinds of things. And you look at people like Scotch, you know, who has I mean, I'm not really in the entertainment business as these others, but they basically have built up their brand really strong and then started to trademark, because at the end of the day, we do operate in the Caribbean where it's hard for somebody else to be like, well, I'm now Scotch. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that you're definitely in the right direction, and I think that what you can just go to like a law firm and ask them how much it is to do the trademark, but it does take a long time, and it does.
Carla is sitting right there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can go to her, get that done. But it is costly as well for young entrepreneurs, you know, so you just have to figure out when the right timing is to invest that money, as opposed to not reinvesting it back into your business to grow your social media portals, you know?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other
Ask for me.
All right, so we have, yes, go ahead, and then we will take Andrea.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Quanish John, and I'm a rugby athlete. My question is about relationships and developing on your own, or developing as an individual and managing social relationships. Some men, and I have to say some men, are somewhat intimidated by women who can stand on their own. So I wanted the panel's view on how they've managed their personal relationships. One doesn't get too, you know, into the detail, but I think it's something very important.
Clean, right?
Yeah, I think it's something very important as young women in in entrepreneurship to hear?
Yes, good question. Let's see how the brave panelists tackle this one. Candace?
You were? A lot in my relationship with my husband. We've been together for now 11 years, and we've been basically doing the same thing ever since. But he has, how do I put this? He has always taught me that you earn the respect. You don't ask for it, and you don't demand it. So very early on, I set out to set myself on a path that was my own. I could not look at the fact that I was woman and he was man, and he was stronger than I was. I had my own strength as a woman. So I had to just internalize that and, practice everything that I've learned, that I had to stay within my bounds as a woman and do the best that I could, and I would earn the respect as such, and I have.
I like how only the women answering this question.
Just building on what Candace would have said, again, it's a husband and wife team at Bee's Ice Cream, and many times people see me in the front, right? But my husband, he's the visionary. Allow me to quote the Proverbs 31 woman, right? Why did that husband love her so much? It is because of how she worked. But she was only able to work and flourish because he created the enabling environment for her to work. So you have to recognize the strength of the partnership and the relationship and know your place. You spoke about staying in your lane, right? So as couples or in relationships, you have that covenantership, which is a relationship. You have to recognize the strength of each person. And sometimes you just have to say nothing and allow the other person. There's a time to speak. There's a time to be silent, right? And know yourself and know when it's your time, right? There's seasons and there's timing of everything, but everything works out for good once we understand when it's our time and when it's not our time. But value each other. I think that's what it is. Just value the person that you have the relationship with. We all have gifts. We all have talents. We all have strengths. Some of us women, we are definitely trailblazers. Despite what we know what we want, we're going after it, right? And sometimes, yes, that could be very intimidating. We just have to learn to temper it sometimes a bit, because you don't want to really take away from anyone else's strength. Yeah?
Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay. Andrea?
Hi, good day. I'm Andrea Encinas. My question is, my comment is, Trinidad is a very unregulated society, I have found, since being back. I used to live in London. And I haven't heard anything today being spoken about the responsibilities, about paying tax, about registering as self-employed, about your legal responsibilities in business like insurance and health and safety, which I think is very important. Everybody, I think, is very quick to want to be an entrepreneur. We have so many roadside entrepreneurs, for example, in Trinidad, and I would want to question how many of those are actually paying tax.
Just want to speak to this.
Yeah. I pay my taxes, that's one. And my penalties, right? I think I had put a slide up with regard to the BNI triangle, and one of the components was the legalities of your business. So once you follow that model, you'll understand the importance of paying tax. I went 2 years thinking, making money, paying my bills, and then I got a letter saying, where my taxes? You understand? And I understood the importance of making sure that the taxes were paid on time and following your business chronologically in terms of your numbers. So I I advocate the importance of understanding the type of business that you're going to register, because some people will register sole proprietorship and an LLC, and they don't know the benefits and the drawbacks of both. You have a partnership, and you just, register a business because it's two of us, so it had to be a partnership. It's one of me, it had to be a sole trader. That's not how it works. So understanding what you're registering as a business and knowing the importance of the tax benefits of LLC, tax benefits of a sole proprietorship is very important. So I think legalities are the number one thing that people miss out, but they need to take heed of.
Thanks, Kiva.
Hi. It's important as you develop your business, definitely, to honor and register for all the statutory requirements your business needs. NIS is very important, especially if you employ people. You cannot fudge that, right? Because if you say you're building a team and you want longevity, you have to take care of your employees, and that's very important. Things like we are a limited liability company, and when I first started, my uncle-in-law was an attorney, and I asked him to set up a company. Not only that, in today's business world, even to get financing, you have to show the paperwork. More and more now, with the whole question of the FIU, we now have to provide audited accounts every year to the bank, right? So whether you're going to try and dodge it, it is coming. So I think you should take in front and really talk to all the different relevant authorities with respect to your statutory requirements, right?
So I have a lot to say on this because we've gone through so many different entrepreneurs on our TV series, and we've seen their businesses and seen where they were at, and people were kind of all over the place. With some people have documents, some people don't, some people are paying that, and some people aren't. And to be honest, I actually feel really sorry for entrepreneurs who are starting off in Trinidad, because it's really good that you've been to the UK and you've gone there and you understand they have a system. They have an economy that's been developing and thriving for, decades. And at the same time, I think that everybody needs to get into the system and be more educated about it. But I think there also needs to be more outreach to people to show them how to get it done. Because a lot of these people that come through our program, they are so busy hustling, trying to get a little bit of sales done, trying to get a little bit of expenses done, trying to feed their children. And then some of them have no understanding of where to start with tax. A lot of us are very lucky here that, we've all gotten educated, had access to that. But there are a lot of people that the small mom and pop shops that you see on the street every day, some of them don't have the access to education. Some of them never had anyone to really help them get by. So I think that all businesses, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're growing, mentorship and helping somebody else get to that next level is important. You know what I mean? When I first started, I was lucky enough to have mentorship from Ernst & Young, and they are just, their audit and tax company and whatever. And I thought I was in order, and then I reached to them and I was like, whoa, I have so much more to do, And I look at other people that are at the other steps, and I feel as though if you know a little bit, share the knowledge. And that's why, things like this are so great, and I like to see it happening because it's an opportunity to help each other, because not everybody grew up in Trinidad with that ability. They don't have access. When I went to Monaco with EY, I met an actual billionaire. He owns all the grain in Manitoba. And he started off in his garage in agriculture. And I was like, well, how did you get financing for all this? He's like, oh, all our farmers have government programs. All of their farmers have government programs. They know how to do it. In Holland, their farmers are like genius chemists, And we work here with our farmers, and they want to do it. They have all the drive. They have all the passion, but no one has taught them, So I think that as a community, we're smaller, we're lesser developed, but I really appreciate events like this where people get to share, and once we keep mentoring each other, you learn a little bit from the UK, you come down, you help somebody, I think that's the best way for us to all move forward together,
Thank you. Okay, we have a final question.
This is for the entire panel, especially for those involved in digital platform, digital media, so like Kivo and Carla, even Candice with events. The whole notion of taking likes into actual payments, because so much people now are moving into being Instagram influencers and celebs or comedians, etc. Or you're putting out, you're producing your own show. You said content is king, but you could put these things out there on your expenses, but they aren't, bringing in income for you. Unless I think eventually with your brand expanding, that you get partnerships, things like that, that someone, for instance, might take your show and now we want to air it somewhere else, so you get an opportunity like that. But that struggle, if to call it, so to speak, of people who wanting to go out there on social media, put themselves out there, but the likes are just likes at the moment, and especially if you need monetary gain in that initial startup, as opposed to just trying to build yourself. And even generally for all businesses, what may determine you now going into a partnership with another brand? You understand your own brand, but you see the need to link with, if it's another Fed promoter, and you guys come together and put on something new, something unique, in leveraging, I want to establish myself, but there's a need to also hold someone else's hand and let's do this together.
Well,
very quickly, please.
Yes. Before I answer that question, I just want to make a point about the last questions about law and the business. One aspect that I think is definitely left out of a lot of entrepreneurship discussions, which is why I really do appreciate Glenda for reaching out to me for this, is law. I've seen 1,000,001 entrepreneurship discussions on television, workshops, seminars that all talk about how to start a business, and the legal component is never injected because of the perception that law is only for the rich. But the reality is that you have to have a line item, even as a startup entrepreneur, for law, even if it means just going to a free legal resource to get a sense of how much is it going to cost me to do these things. Because I can tell you all without a doubt, the value proposition of going to a lawyer after the fact is significantly more expensive. When I have to get you out of a bad situation, when I have to, we've been talking about trademarks all day, but you're leaving your trademark registration too late because you write off of the fact that I'm a popular name, a popular event promoter, and I've been around for 2 years, and I'm going to leave my trademark registration to the end. That actually costs you significant amounts of money, because I know several persons in the industry who rode off of that popularity, who when we did checks in the IPO, their brands were not registrable. So they were using names that actually belonged to persons from before who actually did not, they may not have registered or whatnot, or with the same name in a different territory who they were looking at going into. So it cost a lot more to now reach out to another company and say, can we coexist? So looking at you having a budget and getting a discussion from a lawyer in terms of what are my costs here makes a lot more sense than paying to get you out of a lawsuit. Now, second to your question about, is it how you translate likes to an actual business model? Like, how do you generate revenue from that? I think that's a broad question, but essentially, you're right, likes mean absolutely nothing. It means that you have people who are looking at your page. It also means that you have people looking at your page who just may be there to form similar businesses, right? Because a like doesn't often mean, it doesn't always mean that it's a supporter. It can also mean that it's somebody who's just stalking your content. Right? You have to be very real, because that it does exist. I think how you translate likes is, we could go on and on and on. I mean, obviously, let's say if you're on YouTube, there's the question of monetizing through ads and that type of thing. But it has to be that you have a significant number of followers for you to then enter into that arrangement with YouTube. But I think in a more practical sense, you asking me in terms of my content, like how would I now turn that into a model in which I'm generating revenue, and it's because you are correct in saying that looking at new distribution arms for the content is one of the ways. So, for example, just after I would have aired the last episode of The Business of Carnival, I was in discussions with local cinemas. So IMAX and Gemstone actually have distributed clips of the episode during the summer period. So that was a distribution model. Then moving from that, there are discussions in terms of television stations, persons who want to translate the content from video into podcast. These are paid methods, because you have to pay to license somebody's content. And I think one of the ways to look at generating your likes into revenue is what I was saying earlier in terms of doing your data analytics. Who are the persons? Because Facebook and Instagram break it down for you once you have a business page. Break it down for you very well. You can tell the age of your followers, you can tell the sex of your followers, the countries and so forth, and then just engaging with your followers. Who are the persons who are interested in you? And then from that form collaborative, like you said, business ventures, based on the type of content that they want to see, based on the type of business that they want to engage in. And I think that's how you look at it. But essentially, finding licensing methods that would pay you for what you're generating online is the way to make money.
In terms of generating money from Instagram, thankfully I've gotten to a place where I can do that. And honestly, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to ensure that you're in the face of your followers as much as possible. I started with 20 followers. I got to 6,000 followers. And one video changed 6,000 into 12,000 in 2 weeks. Right? I just did one video because I was consistent. And there's an Instagram influencer calculator that would tell me how much money I can generate from one post. So I put my handle in, and it tells me right now my post is worth 180 US. So if a company wants to come to me, they have to pay me around that price. I'm not going to charge them that price because it's not going to be a large company. It's going to be a small company that wants to get a name out there. And I say, like, this is my price. I'm going to market you through that post. And that's how I would gain income through the post. But at the end of the day, your brand is important. My brand is what I like to call I complain about a lot of things that I don't like, all right? And because I'm a complaint brand, I cannot support complaint brands. Meaning, if the red or the green calls me, which one of them did, they wanted me to endorse their product. I can't, right? The money is nice, but the followers made me who I am. So I can't, I'm sorry, because I have to complain about you guys until you get it right, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's important to know what you want to align with. A non-complaint brand for me would be Stag and Carib, right? You either like Stag or you like Carib. You don't complain about it. Zoomers, I like Zoomers. Right, bring me some Zoomers. I'll eat Zoomers while I do my post. It's not a problem, right? So it's understanding what your brand is and being consistent, and eventually businesses follow tribes. You have a large tribe. I have 30,000 followers, average 10,000 on Instagram, 20,000 views on Facebook. 30,000 people are going to watch that video and see a Zoomer's pack. All right, we'll pay you that kind of money to do a post, right? So be consistent and make sure that you align yourself with the brand that is, as Candice says, it holds the you as true.
Okay, we have to stop there. I'm so sorry. Some of our student participants need to leave. So very brief closing session. 2 of our team members, Mrs. Hazel Manning and Glenda Joseph Dennis.
Hi, good day everyone. Good afternoon. What a day it has been. Tell me, what do you think? Just one word to tell me what you thought of today. Excellent. I heard informative. Any other word? Empowering. Quite true. And I'm the one who would have to give you homework. If you look in your documents, you would see something called the action plan. And that's really our homework for you to do. And it responds to the question and the response that we got on stage about how do you help put in place time management, put in place prioritization, put in place that government of self to be able to implement. And this is what this document does. 2 pages. It's the write-up for the action plan, and on the second page, the table, the action plan outline really. And basically what the action plan is saying is that you have to find a goal. Identify, as what you heard here this morning, identify what your mission is. Identify what your vision is. Identify a goal. And then you can place in your first column that goal. This is what I want to do, and I'm giving you a month. This is what I want to do in the next month. I want to develop a business plan. That's what I want to do. So identify my goal. And then I move on to the second column. What are the activities to developing that business plan in my case? Your case could be totally different. You may already have your business plan. What are the activities that you'd have to put in place to be able to identify that plan? And if you go through the list of activities, for example, in identifying a business plan, you've got to do the research, you've got to identify what you want to sell, who you want to sell it to, and put it down almost line by line. Step by step, what are the activities that you would take to do that? And the third column speaks to your start date. When am I going to do that? Now. I want to recommend that you put now. Whatever your goal is, whatever your plan is, starting now. You have a month in which to do it. And then the other column, success indicators. And that's when you ask yourself the question, what is success to me? How do I know that I'm being successful? And if you can answer that question, you're on your way. This is what I want to do. These are the things that would make me do it. This is when I'm starting. What would success mean for me? And the minute I have that organized, I then start my progress, step by step, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and how I'm going to do it. I call it W to the 5th power and H. Who, what, why, when, where, and how. That's your homework. So in a month's time, I want you to turn to the person on your right. Remember we were talking about the person on your right? And there's a little column there that would ask you to identify the name and the phone number, the email, and the connection, and the date. And I want you to get that person's number and call that person along your journey for the next month. I wish you all the best. Good luck, and God bless you.
Okay, so wrapping up, I am sure that you are highly inspired with a lot of notes and nuggets. But inspiration and implementation is great, but applying them is where we fall down. It is where we make a difference, but it's where we fall down. So hence, this is the reason for giving you that little exercise so that you crank your engines and start moving. Now, I told you earlier that we would be extending support to you. We can extend support to you after this event. So you have in your packages information that would imply future support from Carific. But I would like to now introduce the rest of our team to show that support is all around. So I'll start first with Jacqueline Ryan Brathwaite. Can Jackie show herself, please? This is Jackie. So Jackie has over 35 years of multi-sectoral experience in the field of human resource management, which is her area of expertise. She's results-oriented with the philosophy that for every problem, there's a solution waiting to be discovered if one is imaginative and persistent enough in the search. Having spent more than half of her life working in the corporate world, where she was the HR manager of Atlantic LNG, and she took care of her employees, as was said by Cheryl. She has now earned the right to retire from that life and embark upon another journey. She's now enjoying life, waking up without an alarm clock and working for 12-hour days. Her focus is now on giving of her time and expertise to non-profit organizations for simply the love of it. Okay, so our next person is Karen Atherley Dowden, and I am asked to truncate the information. Karen is a born and bred San Fernandian who is passionate about building the visibility of her city by any means necessary. And you see that she's doing it very well today. Karen, and by the way, to our students in the audience, Karen is a NAPS girl. The next person I will want to introduce to you is Jacqueline Sims. And Jacqueline is also an APS girl. Jacqueline, who studied at UWI in St. Augustine doing economics, and she has ended up working with one of the largest external auditors firm, and the managing partner insisted that she did ACCA. So she has taken a life in accounts. Jackie helps students, tertiary students, with their, with their MBA studies. And she is really good in the account area. So thanks to Jackie. And then we have Mrs. Hazel Manning. It is very hard to do one sentence here, but Hazel has over 40 years of experience in program planning, management, and working as a senior administrator and representative in local, regional, and international arenas. I think that says a whole lot. And everybody knows who she is and what she does. Oh, she tells me that she's from St. Joseph's Convent. By the way, I am from NAPS too, eh? Okay, so where is Suzanne's paper here? Suzanne Romano Davis, and I think most of you probably know Suzanne as well, an expert financial advisor, and she is willing and able to assist you after this event as well. So Suzanne, please come and show yourself. And with that, I will ask Suzanne to proceed to giving our vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure to close today's proceedings, and I will do so in the same way we began. Someone said, and I quote, "If the only prayer you said was thank you, that would be enough." So even though it would not be the only prayer said today, we take this time to say thank you to all those who made this event the tremendous success it has been. Mrs. Jacqueline Ryan Brathwaite for invoking God's presence and power into the space and setting the tone for the rest of the day. Thank you. Our very competent, articulate, and insightful Master of Ceremonies, Mrs. Karen Atherley Dowding, who so effectively navigated the team and the proceedings and kept us on track. I think Hazel had a little problem with the timers, though. His Worship the Mayor of San Fernando, Alderman Junior Regrello, who is not with us, but who readily bought into our vision of creating a hub in the city of San Fernando where women and youth in entrepreneurship can start, grow, and excel. Our speakers and panelists. I worked with a consultant, Dr. Gwendolyn Williams, who always said, the 4 H's must come together for business to start, grow, and excel. The head, that's where the vision resides. The heart, where the passion lies. The hands, you have to get down and get dirty. Implement and execute. And Kevin, the humor, we have to learn to laugh at ourselves because it will not always be happy and it will not always be roses. There will be the thorns, and so we have to learn to laugh at ourselves. So, to the entire team, Mr. Kevin Lewis, Ms. Carla Paris, Ms. Catherine Bethel, Mrs. Catherine Bethel, Miss Stephen Pemberton, Mr. Elson James, Stephanie Pemberton, sorry, Mr. Elson James, Mrs. Cheryl Bowes, and Mrs. Candice Gopi Sobian. Thank you, thank you for a job well done. And at this point, I just want to ask for each of the speakers to stand and we present with a small token of our appreciation. We will give the GMMB team Elson's package to carry for them, right, Andrea? To our sponsors, to whom we would always be grateful, our gold sponsor, Guides Funeral Home of Coffee Street in San Fernando. Our student sponsors, JMMB, so you all know you all have to check out JMMB to open your accounts. Our silver sponsors, Point Lisa's Industrial Port Development Corporation, known as PLIPDECO, Point Lisa's Nitrogen Limited. Our bronze sponsors, Roxanne's Beauty Salon of Cross Crossing Shopping Complex, Southern Meats Limited of Lady Hales Avenue, and Arene Meat Packers Limited of Santa Flora. Our cash and in-kind sponsors, City Hall for the use of the auditorium and the sound system. And I want to especially thank the ladies of City Hall who stayed with us last night, longer than they had expected, to allow us to put the room together. Thank you, ladies, if you are in the room. Southern Supplies Limited, MedSaver Pharmacy Limited, Courts for the beautiful set design that you see on top of the stage. SM Jalil and Company Limited for the water you're drinking. Athletes, not only for the meal, but athletes in total for the tea, and Paula for the service. Evergreen Designs, and Cindy is in the house. Evergreen Designs for the table decor that you see, the plants on the table. WAC 90.1 for the radio advertising. Pronto Print for our printing and stationery. Twig Natural Herbs Tea, Ross Photography for the videography and photography. To our volunteers, Cheryl, Sadia, Denise, Crystal, thank you. To our caterers, Mrs. Paula Atherley on the Sutton Street, and to our product promoters, Sajiko Life Inc., Shemer, and JMMB. And last but by no means least, our team of organizers led by Mrs. Glenda Joseph Dennis. Glenda came to us with her purpose and vision and was able to sell us on the idea, and we immediately jumped on her bandwagon. So Glenda, Hazel, Jackie, and Jacqui, I say thank you. Maya Angelou said, when we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. I truly believe that all of us have been blessed because of the generosity of so many. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One other thing, there's an evaluation form in your folder. We would appreciate if you take 2 minutes to fill it out and leave it for us so we know when we're planning the next event what you might be looking for. The meal is at the back, but we'll ask for the presenters to be served first and then everybody else. If anybody needs to leave, we will try to see if we have enough packages to package your meal for you.
Where do I look at the lens? Hi, good day. My name is Natalie Howe. I am the manager of Décolleté by Natalie Howe. And I'm here today at this business seminar, which I thought was very inspirational, very informative, very insightful. I'm originally from Point Fortin, South Trinidad, but I currently reside in Tunapuna. My business has been just about a year old, and you know, the reason why I'm here today is to learn more about women in business, actually. You know, the entrepreneurial journey of a lot of the business people that I met today. You know, I learned a lot about branding, about being your brand, all right, creating a presence in this environment. Right now I'm wearing one of the products that I produce. It's a brooch, all right, and you know, I am very, very a good advocate for being your brand. So, you know, I just want to encourage individuals to ensure that, you know what you stand for, and, you know, your business has a purpose, it's impactful. So, you know, essentially success will come, but ensure that you are impacting the community in some way or the other. Thank you very much.
Stay right there.
One of the products that I produce is the brooch. All right, my products are basically Afrocentric in nature. All right, so I would use or utilize material that I source locally. All right, and the brooch actually can be worn as a headpiece as well. And I realized that it produces a great accent to clothing that are simple, that are everyday. All right, but it produces a lot of color, vibrancy, and that's the reason why, you know, I chose to produce the brooch as an item for women to show to empower women more or less, to show them that, you know, color adds value to your personality, more or less. I can be contacted via telephone 331-0603, or you can contact me via Facebook. My Facebook page is Decolte by Natalie Howe, or via email natalie.howe@gmail.com.
Hi, my name is Glenda Joseph Dennis, and I am the Managing Director of Terrific Coaching and Consulting. Women and Youth in Entrepreneurship, Start, Grow, Excel, is about elevating the success among businesses. It is about nurturing sustainable businesses run by women and youth. It is also about helping to make San Fernando a vibrant hub for fostering sustainable entrepreneurship. And while it is under the umbrella of Global Entrepreneurship Week, I find it serendipitous that it falls within the San Fernando Month celebrations. So this gives us the opportunity to add new perspective to celebrating San Fernando. Our aim is to educate, inspire, and empower entrepreneurs at all levels of the business life cycle. And so we are going to highlight the fundamentals of growing a business, a successful business. We're going to celebrate successful entrepreneurs, and we are going to give you the opportunity to learn from experienced professionals in specific subject matter areas. And finally, we're going to give you the opportunity to tap into a community of like-minded business leaders where you network and synergize.